What's happening, San Diego? Great Wednesday to you. Hope you're having a happy hump day so far. Your midday hang has turned up, ready for work. It's Andy and Elsten with you on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Annie is off once again today. She will return tomorrow. She has an outside commitment that keeps her off the program today. But I'm Craig Elsten with Braden Soprenet, and the two of us are together in our Odyssey studios overlooking San Diego, getting ready for 4 hours of live local San Diego sports talk with you. Rolling till 2 o'clock when Gwen and Chris will check in. What's up, Braden? How are you today?
Doing well. What did I do yesterday? I didn't do anything. I got roped into doing a lot of decorating and other stuff since I have a little bit more free time after the shows now.
Yes. Yes, life post-season coaching, getting ready for off-season coaching.
Getting ready for off-season stuff. So I did some decorating around. Helped decorate the house yesterday. That's what I did.
Outstanding.
And then live react to the monstrosity that is the college football playoff.
I figured you'd have plenty of thoughts. I've mapped out a couple of segments where, we can just lean into it and get rolling on that. But I saw Boise State and SMU are currently in bye positions, but that won't necessarily hold.
No, they'll be in byes if they win their conference. I mean, the first 4 byes, the top 4 teams get a bye. They have to be a conference champion. So whoever wins the ACC and I guess the Mountain West. Not really the Mountain West. If Boise State loses and UNLV wins, UNLV will be in the playoff, but they probably won't get a bye. They'd probably be the 12th seed.
Right. Got it. But Boise State's high enough ranked that they can get the job done. Yeah, I'm excited for where it is. We'll talk about it a little bit at 10:35. We'll start to really dig into it. But yeah, that's about the only really big sports thing that happened yesterday. Blake Snell got introduced in L.A. We'll talk about that in our next segment. NBA Cup was all over the place. Last night was the last night of group play, but it didn't really create, outside of 1 or 2 games, it didn't create a ton of drama. Some of the games were pretty well decided quite early, and then it came down to math problems to figure out who was going to be the play-in team. But now they've got a bracket of 8, and it doesn't involve the NBA champion, and it doesn't involve the NBA Cup champion from last year. So someone else is going to get the money and lift up the hardware. I did watch some of that. Yesterday, we're trying to find a new swim club for James. It's the one thing that is kind of clicked in for him in terms of something he does like to do is swim, and he's been swimming at the La Mesa Rec Pool with it's a quote-unquote club, but it wasn't really a competitive thing at all. And, he's only in 8th grade. We're not talking about land speed records or nothing. He just likes to swim. So we went to a group that works out of El Cajon Valley High School yesterday, and he had to do a little swim back and forth, try out.
Right.
Can you swim? How do you swim? And so now we're looking at that, but now we're looking at other ones too. There's a lot of time commitment, and I'm realizing the time commitment that it used to be, the older they get, the more it grows. Now I understand why we let the kids have the cars at age 16. Because all the responsibilities get to the point, do I really have to drive you everywhere every day?
You seem confident enough to operate a motorized vehicle. Get your ass to your own places.
Exactly.
100%. That's all the families and coaches that I coach with that have kids that are in high school age. They honestly all cannot wait for their kids to get their license so they don't have to drive them to all these events or workouts at 6 a.m. or this at this time or this at that time. It's more of their day-to-day routine than bring them to a friend's house.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we were up to yesterday, which again, not a whole ton of a lot. James came home from Scouts saying he was named the senior patrol leader, but it wasn't exactly a gigantic, robust competition. It was against this one kid that nobody likes.
Oh no!
So
hey, I
don't want to say nobody likes, but just less popular in the group. So just in case
listening
anyone
part of the group.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Nobody likes this kid.
No, I don't mean it that way. Just it was described to me as they don't want him to be.
They don't want him to be the guy.
The guy. So I'll be the guy. So, yeah, good day for James yesterday. For me, pretty routine. We do have a good show lined up for you today, however. Each day we have the task. build this thing up, make it something that's going to be worth your while for 4 hours. And I think we've done the job once again today. Coming up at 11 a.m., we conclude. Yeah, I think we've wrapped it up. Our Padres performance review series. We started all the way at the top with Katsenda and Grupner, through Preller, through Schilt, through Niebla, through Rodriguez, to catcher, first base, second base, shortstop, third base, left field, center field, and now we'll wrap up in right field, which is mostly Fernando Tatis Jr. Discussion, but we'll get into not only how Nando did in 2024, but what the future pretends for the position coming up at 11 o'clock. And then at 11:35, Sammy Levitt will be on the show. Always great to have Sammy Lev in town. He, of course, is heading out of town. He will be at the winter meetings in Texas next week. He'll be live on our show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, as well as Ben and Woods, as well as Gwen and Chris, keeping you in lockstep on the pulse of what's happening at the 2024 Major League Baseball winter meetings. But Sam will offer us a preview and some Padres talk coming up at 11:35 today. 12 o'clock Sports Fix, of course, will be at the midpoint of the show. Braden and I will divvy that up to get you all the sports news of the day. We did have match games scheduled for today's silly game. However, with Annie out, I mean, the humor quotient goes down.
It really does.
Significantly if we don't have Annie's colorful responses to many of the prompts. So
True.
We will flip-flop, and we will play Fast Money today, the bonus round from the Family Feud game show. That'll come up at 12:40 today, and that is your third to last chance to qualify for our two-night stay at Westgate, Las Vegas, as well as tickets to see Kings of Motown, as well as a $150 food and beverage credit. So that'll be at 12:40, and then we'll do the match game and assemble the All-Star Celebrity Panel on Thursday. Instead, we will get to Ask Us Anything at the end of the show. And I'm also going to set up a discussion a little later in the show for a guest we will have on tomorrow. Will Carroll from the Under the Knife Substack will make a return appearance to the show, but he got into a topic today that I think is definitely worth every baseball fan finding out about, and today we'll kind of like seed the field and then let it grow in a conversation tomorrow. Here's your slug line. How about a pitcher being able to throw 110 miles an hour? How about the use of the most advanced tourniquet in history to make it happen? What? Mind blown? Mine was. I opened this up this morning. I'm like, wait, huh? They're going to do this, and then that happens, and then what? And what can be the result? So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. As we like to do at the top of the program, what are the big headlines, especially what are the big local headlines of the day? Braden mentioned college football playoff. That's definitely the top national headline. The top baseball headline is probably Juan Soto. Scott Boras is just having a field day.
$600 million.
Yeah. He's got his lieutenants marching, just jackbooting left and right. Everywhere he needs, a new column from John Heyman pops out, a new Ken Rosenthal story.
Is that going to be the last of the big contracts?
No.
You think somebody's going to outlast him?
At some point in the history of the world, yes.
Some point in the next 10 years?
Probably. Because we're headed to a brave new world. There's no question about that. Now, yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. Somebody will pop up as an 18-year-old that's tremendous, and he'll be a free agent at 25, and we'll get the next super-duper contract. I don't know who that guy is. Maybe it's Leo DeVries. I literally thought about that today.
If the ratings and if the TV money's going down and they have other problems with finances, is the contract's going to continue to go up until infinity?
But what if the TV money doesn't go down because baseball gets their act together?
Oh, and they bring in the golden at bat. Now you're talking.
And they do the golden at bat. You got it, right. Ding, ding,
and
ding.
And the platinum pitch.
Golden at bat, platinum pitch, giant ball, the whole thing.
Oh, man. And then we woke up.
All the jingles. No, we'll talk about it later in the show, but I think there's a good argument to be made that there's going to be a Major League Baseball labor stoppage in 2027. and one that could threaten the season. But there's also a good argument to be made that if Major League Baseball's owners and the powers that be could just for a moment share a moment of clarity, share a moment of vision, and imagine what it could be if they all came together in a more NFL-style fair system that elevated all 30 teams, that raised the revenue for all 30 teams, that required a short-term sacrifice from the teams that are bleeding the system dry by taking advantage of it right now. And if those people had the wherewithal, not the wherewithal, but the willingness to sacrifice in the short term in order to create something whereby everyone would succeed going forward, then yes, we will see much bigger contracts than what Juan Soto has had, because everything will get on the same page and the thing can all grow together, and then there'll be salary floors, and then there will be every single team competing for all the key players, and you'll have an NBA, NFL style situation where teams rise, teams fall, the best run teams create a short window that they can be dominant, but they can't possibly sustain it because the rules don't make it possible to sustain, and so on and so forth. The cycle of the sport continues. That's not what's happening right now, as we've documented all year long, right? With the local television revenue disparity, no matter what revenue sharing takes place, teams like Los Angeles specifically, and then the Mets and the Yankees and the Cubs have a revenue advantage that no one else can possibly stand up to. You can try and spend up to it for a year or two, but as the Padres found out, you'll get slapped down quite quickly if you try to keep that up for too long.
Well, and the other thing too is all with the revenue sharing is the teams that get the share, that get the money on the revenue sharing, just pocket it instead of putting it in to buying players, and then does not create a competitive market because there is no salary floor, right? So instead of the Pirates having extra money going out there and potentially grabbing a Blake Snell because they need a pitcher so the Dodgers can't have him, they just put the money in their pocket, and then the Dodgers continue to get rich, on top of the fact that they probably should have a cap.
I think we'll talk in the next segment, and it's coming up quickly. We're about to go to break. I'm going to try to make the argument that L.A. could be hurting themselves with everything they're doing. And it's probably a stupid argument, but I'm going to at least try. I'm going to at least try and do the thought exercise to see if there's nothing there.
I don't think it's as dumb of an argument as you think.
We'll find out. We'll explore it together. Briefly before that, just want to note San Diego State plays tonight at Fresno State. And I'm up for this game, Braden. I really am, because I feel like this is the game. If you just remember last year, the Aztecs would be ranked, and then they'd have a game just like this on their schedule, and they'd kick that game. They'd have a Fresno State, an Air Force, a New Mexico, whatever. They'd have a team that they were favored to beat, but maybe it's a road environment, and maybe there's a little bit of a letdown after you beat the number 6 team in the country. And then here comes Fresno State, and they take a notch out of you. Now, they don't have Coach Hudson there anymore. He's been replaced by a dribble drive motion guru guy who used to coach at Clovis West High School. So I don't know if that means it sounds like Fresno State's playing into San Diego State's hands. Sounds like they're going to run the type of offense that the Aztecs are built to defend. And if that's the case, I think San Diego State will win comfortably on the road at the Save Mart Arena in Fresno. But if they come out with no shooting tonight, and they don't come out with the intensity they need, and they don't treat this the way they treated their trip to Vegas, they could stub their toe in a way that's really irritating and doesn't take the shine off the wins that they got in Vegas, but it does deter their momentum. I think it's a big game, and I think it's a classic Mountain West Aztecs trap game.
I think this is a classic game where, and I said this last night talking to my buddy that's a Aztec fan, an Aztec alum. I said, I can see the Aztecs being down 29-28 at half and then winning by 15.
Totally.
I just literally, that's my prediction for this game. It seems like I've seen this episode a couple of times when the Aztecs go to Fresno. Since they didn't get to play for the oil can in football, they get to play for it in basketball or not?
There you go. Hey, yeah, what's the deal with that? The oil can just sits unsqueaked, right? Doesn't kickle.
Yep, just sitting there on the mesa.
There's no oil in it.
No, I don't think so. We got some good college basketball games tonight in general. A lot of ranked matchups tonight.
Well, that'll be fun to get into.
College basketball will be your fix tonight with the NBA.
College hoops. Let's do it. All right, let's take that first time out. When we come back, Blake Snell introduced in Los Angeles. Dodgers cross a ridiculous threshold. And I try to at least explore the thought argument of could LA be putting themselves into a corner? We'll talk about it when we come back. It's the Annie and Elsten program. No Annie, yes Elsten, yes Braden. Here till 2 o'clock, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back. It's the Annie and Elsten program on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie sends her regards. She will be back tomorrow. Craig Elsten, Braden Soprennant here with you till 2 o'clock. Great to have you with us. All right, yesterday, Blake Snell introduced in a Dodger Stadium press conference, the whole thing, the Andrew Friedman handshake, the car wash of interviews here, there, and everywhere. And a little bit more reporting into the contract of Blake Snell. And this is now clearly an established Los Angeles Dodgers pattern when it comes to free agent recruitment. They say two things to their incoming people, other than, we'd love you to be a part of the greatest organization in the history of the world, the LA Dodgers. They say, hey, where do you live? Oh, Seattle? Oh. Japan? Oh. Texas?
Places with no state income tax?
Oh. Florida? I got an idea for you. What if we give you about a third of your contract right at the start? We'll give you a signing bonus that's about a third of the whole deal. So you get it in your bank account right away. You're making the interest. You're able to do with it whatever you want. And then, in exchange for that, about another third of your contract or so. And, of course, in Shohei's case, it was completely different. It was all the deal. But we'll put that into a deferred deal. And you won't get that money until you're retired and you're back at home. And that way it won't count against California state tax. You won't be taxed on that money. So you get a lot of money up front before you're working in California. And you get a lot of money at the end after you're working in California. And hey, look at us. We get to screw the state of California out of millions of dollars of taxes for the good people of the Golden State. But you get more money to take away, and you get to come play for the Dodgers, and we get a lower average annual value, which means we spend less tax money because we have to double the amount we pay to you and give that same amount money to MLB. We have to give about that much in revenue sharing. So we get a little help on our end. And everyone works out for the better. And every one of these players, Braden, has said, okay, sign me up. Let's do it.
I mean, to have $50-something million in your bank account when you sign this deal is it's pretty hard to say no to, right? I mean, you look at his deferred money. I mean, he's going to get paid $5.5 million until he's 53 years old. $5.5 million until 2046. I mean, that's an insane. Bobby Bonilla. You're going to have a bunch of Bobby Bonilla days for Los Angeles Dodgers players over the next decade and a half. But when you are an organization that has the resources to do that, you can do that. I mean, you got to break it down on why doesn't the Padres just do this? Well, the Padres can't get players to take deferred money because they don't have that enticing bonus that they could just hand out at the beginning part of this contract, right? I mean, the whole thing with deferred money is you are making less money over those years because, money is worth more today than it will be in the future. That's why they say when you win the lottery, it's better to take the lump sum at the beginning than the, annual payments because you think that it's going to be worth, well, if I'm getting annual payments, this is great. But the reality is the value of that amount is slowly decreasing over the years. It might not be a lot, but it's still decreasing. So it's better to have money now than it is in the future. So players aren't going to sign up for that. I mean, they're not just going to willingly sign up for that to just to help the team out. Not in this day and age. Not with all these, not with the great players association that Major League Baseball has. But the Dodgers have the resources and the ability to give guys gigantic signing bonuses and lump sums at the beginning so it's enticing. If Blake Snell signed this particular contract with anybody else, let's just take out the deferred money.
Yeah.
But anybody else, he's not getting $52 million tomorrow, right? He's going to have to wait. He's going to get the $31 million. He's going to pay taxes on and this, and this. He's going to have to pay taxes based on where he is playing, right? All over the place. And that includes, games on the road. You got to pay taxes in all of those states. But if you get the $52 million of a signing bonus, that's not where you play. That's where you live. And he lives in a place that is a place that doesn't have state income taxes. So he gets the most money up front. And the difference between the Dodgers and the Padres and other organizations are the Dodgers have the cash flow where they could just hand out $52 million at the beginning, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and not cripple them financially.
Exactly. Beyond that, LA, with all of their voluminous revenue streams, they're basically printing money. They're at the point that they're trying to figure out schemes by which they can maximize the effectiveness of the gobs of cash they have. Remember that the Dodgers are the biggest payer into, and will continue to be the biggest payer into, along with the Yankees and the Mets, the revenue-sharing system. There is a local money revenue-sharing system in Major League Baseball, but there's loopholes in it. And so while that was waved around a couple weeks ago in an attempt to say, like, look at all the other teams, they could be doing this too.
Except they can't.
Except they cannot. And I'm trying to find it again. The Athletic had a story about this. Go ahead.
You know what this is? This is Brewster's Millions.
Yeah.
They
how
have
much
all
can
these
you spend?
rules. How they have all this money, and they're trying, as you mentioned, being efficient about it, right? I mean, they get all this money from Japan, all these sponsorship money. I mean, everything with Shohei Ohtani, their TV contract. They have loads of money. Why would you waste half of it in taxes to Major League Baseball when you can find all these little ways to distribute your money? It's the same thing with, the movie Brewster's Millions back in, was that in the 80s?
Yeah.
I mean, that was great
when I was a kid growing
right?
up. Yeah.
I mean, he's got like all these rules that he has to abide by.
He has to lose this much money in this much time.
He has to spend $10 million in a month, and he can't do it. He can only do a little bit on this, and this, and then he inherits like hundreds of millions of dollars or something like that. It's the same thing. If you're the Los Angeles Dodgers, you have all this money. You got to find ways to get rid of it and do it in an efficient way. Not every other team, no other team can do this. They can't do the same deals. It's not just a simple deferred money. Like, well, why don't you just give out deferred money contract? Because players would say, kick rocks. I'm not going to get paid less money for the next, 50 years instead of just and when I can get paid up front.
However, LA has created what they find to be an incredibly successful formula. Now, there was something, Fabian Ardaya wrote a story about Snell's press conference, and the headline I thought was quite telling, which was, in signing Blake Snell, the Dodgers continue to operate in a different financial ballpark. And it's true. And yes, they're operating by, quote unquote, the rules. However, there's ways to change the rules. Here's an example. Yeah, my buddy Joe Sheehan had written this thing like, hey, you guys, everyone's getting it wrong. There's so much local revenue sharing. There's more than any other sport. Don't wag your finger at the Dodgers. Well, one of the things, Braden, I remember talking about this on the air before, that the Dodgers get to deduct against what they put into the local revenue sharing pot is stadium renovations. It's anything that they do in and around Dodger Stadium, stadium improvements.
So let's keep it simple. If they had to put $5 million in the revenue sharing pot and they spent $4.5 million in ballpark upgrades, they only owe $500,000.
Correct.
All right. So
that would be a simple version of it.
Just like tax codes, right?
Yes.
If if I got to pay $5 million in taxes, but I, donate X amount here and this here, and I just, I'm still spending the tax. I'm just putting it into something that I get more of a benefit of than just giving it to a general fund.
Bingo.
That's basically what it is.
So buried in
simple tax laws.
Buried in like paragraph 18 of this Blake Snell story is this quote: as Snell spoke, the signs of a change were forming around him. Massive renovations are underway at Dodger Stadium to reshape the home and visiting clubhouses, the latest flourish in what the Dodgers hope is the defining era of the franchise.
Right, so they have to give X amount of dollars to Major League Baseball. The way that they don't have to do that and they can benefit from it is just by upgrading their ballpark, which they've done every single year.
Right.
And maybe that's a big reason why the Padres have upgraded their ballpark so many times in the last couple of years.
Yes,
On
it
top
is.
of the fact that they do a good job of keeping
And
Petco
they
Park
do
state of the
a
art.
good job. And it's good for the Dodgers to make their ballpark better. And it makes it a better recruiting tool for incoming players when they see that they have now the greatest clubhouse in the history of the universe, as opposed to having a clubhouse in a 60-year-old stadium, right? All of these things work in LA's benefit while simultaneously allowing them to make their ledger right. Because keep in mind, the money they're pouring into those clubhouses, they would just be pouring into the local revenue sharing pool, instead giving to other teams to spend or not spend. So they're saying, hey, we're just going to spend it. There's really no nicking the business model. And
it's honestly, it's genius, and this is a big, and they couldn't do this without Ohtani. If they didn't have Ohtani, they could never do this.
correct.
I mean, just because of his cat. That's why, even though he was too expensive for the Padres, all of us on the radio station were like, the investment, you're make way more money on your investment in Shohei Ohtani than anything else. And, the Dodgers
Well, that's proven
are
true.
reaping the benefits of that right now.
It's already proven true. And he was the one who wanted to defer all but $20 million of his salary because he is at a Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Michael Jordan level of endorsement money.
He's already making at least $40 million just on endorsements. What does he care what the team pays him?
Never mind whatever in Japan he's making.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we see New Balance. We see the stuff he's doing in the United States. He's on the cover of everything in Japan. So that is a unique situation the Dodgers are exploiting. Now, I promised you going into the break, I was going to, because I think what we just did was create, unfortunately, it's just like inspecting the machine and going, I'm looking for a flaw. I'm looking.
This thing's, yeah, exactly.
Looks like you built a pretty good machine here.
I'm looking for a
Damn it.
flaw in this car I want to buy.
Yeah, it's just looks really, really
it's
good.
perfect.
It looks really good. I get what they're doing. I understand it. I think investing in your team is good. $1 billion in deferred payments. Yes, this is money, especially in the Ohtani situation, but in every one of these contracts, they're going to take this money, less than the amount they owe to these players. They're putting it in into escrow accounts, where interest grows upon it, and the interest helps pay the player at the end, in addition to the money.
Didn't some of these have no interest ones?
Some did.
I think Blake Snell was 0, and was Ohtani's nothing?
I'm not sure.
I remember them reporting on like 2 of their most recent signings that it was deferred money, but it was not going to collect interest.
So even with that, LA just like, okay, we put it away, we pay it later, and we'll still have all of our resources 8 years from now to be able to build our next team. But that's really the question is, can they create a situation where 8 years from now they can be the top of market players for the next 25-year-old superstar, for the next 31-year-old free agent top of market pitcher, so on and so forth, and at the same time be paying out, $150 million a year in deferred payments to all of these other players, paying a whole major league salary to 40 and 50-year-olds as they are continuing to pay, 20 and 30-year-olds. That's a good question. The other question is, did anyone notice that LA is not the youngest team around? This, I think, is my best argument right now. Shohei, 2 Tommy John surgeries. He's 30 years old. Obviously, he's at the peak of his career. Guys go down after 30. The thing that's always held over the Padres' head is, look at you guys. You've invested into these stars that are 30 years old, and you're going to just be paying the price when they're 35 and they're terrible. There's going to be a lot of guys who are 35 on the Dodgers before you know it.
Well, already, too. Ohtani's 30.
Correct.
Snell's 32. Glasnow's 31. Yamamoto's young. He's 26. Mookie Betts is 32. Freddie Freeman's 35. Chris Taylor's 34. He's not going to be on that team much longer, but still. Tommy Edman, they give a 5-year deal to. He's 29. He's about to turn. He'll be 30 next season.
So you get all of his 30s.
Will Smith is 29.7, which he's about to be 30. Max Muncy's 34. Miguel Rojas is 35. Ryan Brazier's 37. Austin Barnes is 35.
Now, you look at the pitching staff, there's more youth in their pitching staff with guys in their 20s like May, injured, Kopech, whatever.
Yeah, he's going to be 28, Kopech 28, Tony Gonsolin 30. They're still close to 30. I mean, it's this year and next year where it's going to really be the guys, and the only ones that are just, that are young, and again, they pump a lot in their farm systems, Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan, Gavin Stone. And they've been
They
so
haven't
far.
really, Lux was supposed to be a superstar. He had a better year in the second half of the year than he did in the first. He still wasn't a superstar. Outman, supposed to be a superstar. Oh, God, now they've got another great outfielder. Well, didn't wind up that way. There's an opportunity for the Dodgers to be the highest paid 8th year in a row over the third tax barrier. Bunch of 35-year-olds past their prime can't get the job done, and you have to pay them another $1 billion the next decade. There could come a tipping point for the franchise where they become a really unwieldy, overaged, kind of soggy unit that is getting declining returns because everyone's watched the same product year in and year out. Or they could stay agile and free and move off these guys, and they've got it all figured out, and we're doomed for 25 years. But I did my best to try and come up with a negative argument. And while their financial system is just unassailable until and unless Spectrum declares bankruptcy, that's another way, is just for their local deal to just literally collapse because the model falls in upon itself. Short of that, I think the idea that they've really locked into a bunch of guys that are going to be in their early mid-30s very, very soon and have a history of injury issues, that's the one place you can look at and go, LA may have paid for the most expensive set of European sports cars that'll just keep breaking down over and over again. It's my best try. Let's take a break. When we come back, Braden is taking a look at the college football rankings. The teams that are pissed off, here's the short version. Alabama, happy. Everyone else, pissed off.
Yes.
We'll get into it next. Danny and Elsten on the Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan, presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com. Get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Annie and Elsten Show back with you. Annie off today. She'll be back tomorrow. Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant here with you. First hour of the show. Like to go through the big stories of the day in the world of sports. Talked a little bit about Juan Soto seeking over $600 million. Talked about the Aztecs working into a trap game at Fresno State and hoping to dance right out of that trap and post a big win. Talked about Blake Snell being introduced in L.A. and the Dodgers wielding their financial might over the universe. Now let's talk about the college football rankings. The show was yesterday. The penultimate bracket is out. The music is here. It's time to talk about it.
This music makes me sick sometimes.
I know it does.
Today it makes me sick. It
Well,
made me sick in 2014.
What we've got today is we've got a bracket that is subject to change in only limited ways, right? We've got the conference championship game, so we should have a pretty finite idea of how this thing's going to shake out now.
I guess. It doesn't make it. Everything that they said last night didn't make any sense. It never makes any sense. They usually talk out of both sides of their mouth. I was texting with our boss, Adam Klug, about it last night, and there's been some great tweets. My guy Jake Waters in the chat has great takes on the college football playoff as well. We've had many of conversations in the press box about the college football playoff. But as of right now, before I just go on a absolute rant and tirade, Oregon got ranked number 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, Boise, Alabama, Miami. Those are your top 12. Now, conference champions, the top 5 need to make the playoff, and the top 4 get a first-round bye. So if you look at the bracket, Oregon and Texas, presumably conference champions until this weekend. Oregon gets the number 1 seed. Texas gets the number 2 seed. The next conference champion, currently ranked, is SMU, as they are the favorite to win the ACC. They came in as the number 3 seed, and then Boise State came in as the number 4 seed out of the Mountain West. The Big 12 champion, Arizona State, was ranked outside the top 12, but the top 5 conferences make the college football playoff, so they take the 12 spot for Miami. So 1 would be Oregon, Texas would be 2, SMU would be 3, Boise State would be 4. 5 seed would be Penn State, followed by 6 Notre Dame. Georgia would get the 7, Ohio State the 8, Tennessee the 9, Indiana the 10, Alabama 11, and Arizona State would be the 12 seed if you look at the college football playoffs. Last night already had all the propaganda about eliminating college champions in getting first-round buys because we want to have the SEC and the Big Ten have all the top spots and make all the money and all the other BS. That's a part of the college football playoff. But overall, just looking at last night, I was watching them just unveil team by team, and I was just laughing every single time about how insane this is and how it comes down to how do we manipulate data to get the 12 logos that we want in the college football playoff, because that's what this is. I mean, it's not a playoff. It's an invitational. It's always been an invitational. You as fans, the college football fans have fought to try to get a more level playing field and something that college football fans would want. And then, the playoff people and the powers to be give a little bit, but then they take something back. They go, we'll give you the 12-team playoff, but, we still want to be able to pick the teams that make it, right? It's been a slow process to get to what to me is just a simple fix. It started with, we're going to have media people pick who the national champion is, which is asinine. That is the most asinine thing ever. And then it went to we're going to have a computer pick for you. We'll get rid of the human element. Okay, great. That's great. Let's get rid of the human element. But we're only going to have 2 teams play for a national title. We're not going to have a playoff because we couldn't do that. And you're like, no, that's stupid. Why are we doing this? And then it was just, he'd pick 2 teams and there wouldn't be a playoff. And so people were like, we need a playoff. We need a playoff. All right, we'll give you a playoff. But it's only going to be 4 teams. I don't know if we want to be more than 4 teams. But, we're going to have a committee to make sure that we pick the best teams. We're going to pick the best teams. The best teams in our opinion. These are the best teams in our opinion because we watch so much college football. We're so, more high and mighty than you college fans. We're going to pick the best 4 teams. Not the best 4 on the field, but who we think would be the best 4 teams based on evaluation. College football playoff fans, college football fans, as myself, are like, this is ridiculous. Why are we picking? It seems to be the same 4 teams every time, regardless of what they do. We should expand the playoff. Let's get some automatic qualifiers in there. Let's start to eliminate the human element. And so the college football people, power to be, affecting their wallet, goes, we're going to have a 12-team playoff. And we'll put in some automatic qualifiers. But we're not going to say that the Power 4 conferences all get it. We're just going to pick the best, five conference champions are going to get in. And then, we're still going to handpick the rest. And this is what you've gotten to. It's still like they still have influence on making sure you have the best possible TV rating matchup instead of just letting the teams play on the field. And that's what's sickening about watching this entire thing. I mean, you look at Ohio State. Ohio State just lost to a Michigan team that's been awful all year at home. And they dropped 4 spots. I mean, Miami's 2 losses, granted they've been recent. One last week was to the 22nd ranked Syracuse Orange. They're ranked now. They put them in the top 25 rankings. Was to Syracuse on the road last week, a ranked team. And they dropped 6 spots out of the playoff for losing to a ranked team on the road. And the other team they lost to, Georgia Tech. Well, everybody said, Georgia Tech can't play defense. Georgia Tech can't do this. And Georgia Tech just went to 8 overtimes with Georgia.
Right.
So it's like the finagle of everything. The best one to me, and I saw this, is Ward Manuel, who is the chairman of the college football playoff now. It's his turn to do it. He said last night, what put Alabama in over Miami for the last spot, right? Alabama is 9-3, Miami's 10-2. Was that Miami went 1-2 in their last 3 games, lost by an average of 4.5 points to a ranked Syracuse and Georgia Tech, that just took Georgia to 8 overtimes. Alabama went 2-1. They did better, right? Right? They went 2-1 against a 5-7 Auburn team.
Still Iron Bowl, but okay.
5-7 Auburn. Auburn's been awful all year. Their loss is an ass kicking to Oklahoma that had 6 wins this year.
Right.
Oklahoma went 6-6. They barely made a bowl game, and their other win. You know who their other win was?
It wasn't like Furman or something.
Mercer. They beat Mercer 52-7. But the fact that they went 2-1 and Miami went 1-2 against Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse, that was the nod to the committee that Alabama deserves to be in over Miami. It's so ridiculous looking at they talk out of both sides of their mouth. It's like we worry about strength of schedule, but not really when it comes to these teams, only when it comes to these teams. I mean, Boise State being ranked over a potential Big 12 champion is utterly ridiculous. But they have that logo because they won the Fiesta Bowl, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, yeah, Boise State. Yeah, Boise State. I mean, I think Boise State deserves to be in the playoff, but, being way in front of the Big 12, who has more 10-win teams than any other conference in college football and doesn't have a single 10-loss program in their conference, is utterly ridiculous. I mean, when you just look at it, just admit what it is. It's an invitational, and we're trying to get the best TV ratings because the entire thing is sponsored by ESPN, and their big product is the SEC. Just admit it. Just admit the quiet part out loud. I mean, all the other rankings in this is just an utter joke.
All right, but now let me ask you one question, and I tend to align with what you're saying. When Alabama, if this held, okay, in the Classic, if it ended today, but if all the conference championships went the way they're supposed to, so Boise State beats UNLV,
right.
And Oregon beats Ohio State, and SMU beats what? They're playing Clemson?
Oregon's playing Penn State.
Oregon's playing, that's right, Penn State. Right.
And then
Ohio State didn't even make it.
SMU's playing Clemson.
SMU's playing Clemson. Texas playing, I don't know.
They're playing Georgia.
Oh, okay.
For a second time. Georgia already kicked their ass one time.
So those losses theoretically aren't going to be negatively affecting the other teams currently in the CFP. So if Oregon beats Penn State by 21 points, Penn State's not going to fall out of the playoff as a result of that?
That's what they said. They said the same thing with, what about the upsets, right? Because you have Arizona State's it's like 15 right now. They're playing Iowa State, so that's going to be an easy swap. But like Clemson, if Clemson wins, they're in the playoff if they beat SMU.
Yeah.
And are you going to say SMU's not it's going to come down to SMU and Alabama near the bottom? Who do you think they're going to pick?
Alabama.
Right. They said that, well, it's not going to affect, and we're not going to benefit the teams that aren't playing, but that's impossible because if you move at all the teams that are playing, you have to move other schools. It's not like SMU just has the placeholder for the ACC. If Clemson beats SMU, they're not going to be the 8th team in the country, right? They're going to sneak in at 12, and then they're going to have to bump. It's going to steal another bid. I mean, they can't do what they said. And what they said yesterday about not affecting it, they're hoping all the favorites win because then they could just go with whatever. But
Right.
that's not going to happen. And then they're going to have to eat their words, and somebody else is going to get hosed. I mean, I think you can make the case for Ole Miss and South Carolina to make the playoff. I think you can make the case for a lot of these teams, when you start talking about the metrics of what they're using. But everybody that goes see, look, I told you with a 12-team playoff would still be controversy. No, it's not about how many teams make the playoff. It's about how they pick the teams that are in the playoff that's controversial. Not the amount of teams.
But in these 10 seconds, if Alabama plays Notre Dame, who do you think's favored?
Well, Alabama would be favored.
And who do you think would win?
But Alabama was supposed to beat Oklahoma by 14 points. They got run out of the building.
I know, but
so you can't just assume. You can't. That's why you play the game. Otherwise, why play the games? Just pick the 12 at the beginning of the year and start the tournament now.
We're going to come back and switch and go back to Padres right after this. I don't know. It's a pretty good argument. Maybe it's one to take to the air. Who knows? Hour number 2 of the Annie and Elsten show.
I think it is something you could take to the air.
Yeah, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant here with you. Annie's off today. She will be back with us tomorrow. We look forward to that. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, Sammy Levitt will join us. We're also going to get into our final Padres performance review here. We're down to one position left. It's right field. Mr. Fernando Tatis Jr., can you please enter the office?
That might be a quick one.
Have a seat. We'll have a quick little review of your performance and move on. But, every day, as you know, if you've listened very carefully to the program, MLB Network is on one of our 2 big screens here every day. The second one right now is a graphic of a Christmas tree and snowfall and a fire.
Cartoon U-log is what it is.
It is truly a cartoon Yule log. So that's over there to remind us of a snowy day that we don't experience.
Because it's, in the cartoon world.
But then over here on MLB Network, they've just been running these season retrospectives throughout the last few weeks. And like I saw the 72 one, the 74 one, like we've seen all these different years. Today's was 1997. And 1997, if you don't remember, you were born in
I was born in 95.
95. Okay, so you were too young to remember. 97 was one of the best World Series I've ever watched. That was a great World Series between the Cleveland Indians and the Florida Marlins, then Florida Marlins, now Miami Marlins. And it went 7 games, and Game 7 was tied in the 9th inning, and it was a walk-off winner for the Marlins. So it was a World Series that ended on a walk-off. When do you see that? Not a home run. It was a single by Edgar Renteria, but nonetheless, he had a World Series winning hit. Great players on both sides. You could almost forget. Like, it's actually a shame that the mid-'90s Cleveland Indians never won a World Series, because that team deserved the stamp. It had so many great players, Jim Thome and Manny Ramirez and Carlos Baerga, and honestly, I could go on. Albert Bell, for God's sake, I could go on and on. Sandy Alomar, so many great players. Kenny Lofton was on those Indians teams. A true juggernaut of a franchise, and they made the World Series in 95, and they lost to the Braves, and they made the World Series in 97, and they made it all the way to Game 7, and they lost to the Marlins. But the Marlins came into existence in 1993 as a last-place expansion team alongside the Rockies, and they stunk every year until they got completely loaded with a free agent class for the 1997 season, and that team won a World Series. And then it was immediately dismantled. The very next year, they went right back to last place, and they stunk again until they turned it around, and they won the World Series in 2003. Boom. 2 World Series in 97 and 2003, 6 years apart, and they've been nothing ever since. I mean, what have the Marlins done? Like, realistically, what have the Marlins done since 2003? I should go look it up. But, have they even made the playoffs twice?
Build a monstrosity of a stadium. They made it in 2020. Remember that?
Well, that's a season that doesn't count. They made it last year, or not this past year, but 2 years ago. They made it as the final wild card. They get tossed right away in the beginning. Like Rich brought up Omar Vizquel. I could go on and on about the stars of that Cleveland Indians team. It was truly one of the best teams, of the end of the 20th century. It never won it.
They've never won their division. They've made the wild card 4 times. 97, 03, 2 World Series, 2020, 2023. That's it.
Which created the question in my mind, what would you rather accept as a baseball fan for a 30-year time span, winning 2 World Series and then having 2 other knocked out in 2 games playoff experiences, and otherwise essentially last place seasons every year, not even close, not 500, not in it and then it blows up in the end. No, just dead in the water, done in April, whole season's a waste of time. Or 30 years of contention for more years than not, winning for more years than not, playoffs for at least a third of your seasons, and then,
Or
no
almost.
guaranteed championships.
It's almost a great comparison between the Miami Marlins and the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays were really bad for the beginning part, though, so it's not like it's a full
Right.
deal. But like the Rays are one of those teams. Like most teams that are consistently good usually win a World Series eventually. The Rays have been the most consistent since '08 when they flipped it. They took Devil out of Rays, and all of a sudden they became really good. So,
Right.
And they came around the same time, right? 98 for the Rays, 93 for the Marlins. Two teams in the state of Florida with basically the same descriptions you gave. Would you rather be a Rays fan with 2 trips to the World Series and had never won, but have been to the wild card 5 times and have won the division 4 times, right? I mean, that's 9 different times you've made the postseason in that time, but you don't have a World Series. Or the Marlins, who have only made it 4 times, but 2 of the 4 times you've won a World Series.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even looking at the team that they faced, like just looking at the Guardians, right? Like the Guardians in that same period of time, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. They've made the playoffs 14 times in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
The Marlins have made it 4 times in 30 years. They made 2 World Series. The Marlins made 2 World Series. Marlins won theirs. Indians didn't. But the Guardian Indian franchise, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
14
6, 7,
playoff appearances.
7, 8, 9. They won like 12 divisions.
Yes.
In that period of time.
They won, all of their division titles have come after that World Series, and their wild card bursts were 2013 and 2020. Or sorry, since the Marlins started. But during that 30-year time frame from, 93 on, they won 12 division titles and made the wild card 2 other times. That's 14 times in the postseason. 3 American League pennants.
That's a lot
that
of
time.
great summers, Yes. That's a lot of fun summers. It's a lot of years where you enjoyed following your franchise, where you got the reward of a dogpile celebration on the mound as your team won the division, as your team reached the playoffs. It's a lot of champagne being popped. And, winning a World Series isn't guaranteed to anyone. So, like, on a very logical level, I'd rather take 14 playoff appearances, 12 divisions, and 2 World Series appearances over 4 wild card appearances and 2 World Series appearances. But the wins, God, flags fly forever. So, like, when I asked you that, you were kind of like, I think I'd rather be a Marlins fan. And I see several people in our chat as well saying I would take last place for a decade to win a World Series. And I'm like, really?
I would totally do that 100%.
That's hard for me.
When you're consistently good, you never win the final thing. I mean, go ahead, hang the banner, you guys. But it's something about it's the whole goal. As Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. I mean, to end the season and be the only team that ends the season on a win, I'd take that twice over a 30-year time frame. I mean, the Guardians haven't won a World Series since 1948, but they've been consistently there in the American League, winning division titles since 95 and making the wild card twice. And, I mean, that's 14 chances that they have had just to run into a New York Yankees and knock them out. I mean, that's essentially the same thing you'd be doing. I mean, would you like it if the Padres had won 2 World Series and then and it kind of be bad, or do you want them to just be really, really good, have great summers, and get knocked out by the Dodgers in the playoffs every single year?
Tyler, I think in our chat, just said it really well. I think it's the way to put a capstone on this. He says, I feel like right now, all we want in ST is one championship. We'd be willing to risk decades of drought to get one. But clearly, the best way to be a contender is to compete year in and year out. And, I mean, you've heard me say that so many times. Like, I don't care. I'd love to win the division, but I'm not going to win the division and burn the ship to the ground and be like happy that we won the division. You just got to make the playoffs over and over and over and over again. And if you make the playoffs over and over again, one of the times the tumbler's going to fall your way and you're going to win the title. And now, I mean, we can't spend $350 million like the Dodgers are going to do. No team other than one or two can do it that way. But if you keep making the playoffs, you, by nature, are more positioned to win than some team that loses 110 games over and over and over again and then lucks into it one time.
Yeah, but you've won two. I mean, the topic was like 2 World Series wins with being a competitor, right? I mean, we know the outcome of this. I mean, if all of the competitive years you have a better than 50-50 shot at winning a World Series, then I'd probably take that. But if it's a 30-year span, I have already gone through 30 years of my life without seeing a World Series. So what's an extra 20 years after winning one, right? I mean, if the Padres win the World Series next year, is there a guarantee that they're going to win multiple? There's no guarantee, right? I mean, that could be the only time that they win during your lifetime anyway. So for a lot of fans in professional sports, unless you were born in Boston or L.A., they went through their entire lives without seeing one anyway. What's an extra 20 years? Who cares, right? I mean, it's like, I just want one. Just want one. I will take the one. But since you're offering two, hey, I'll take the two.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. The certitude of it ruins the argument.
I did like the stretch, though. It was kind of funny that when the Marlins make the playoffs, they win the World Series for a while until 2020 happened. They were like, they've only made the playoffs twice, but both times they won the World Series.
Yeah, don't mess with them.
That's another interesting one too. I mean, it's just a little bit different. Like if they only made the playoffs those 2 times and won the World Series, like you said, I mean that's
so many bad years.
But you're gonna win. Think about the 2 memorable seasons though. I mean, we still talk about the 2022 season all the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't even win. They didn't even make it to the World Series.
It's been a long time since Josh Beckett tagged out the whoever it was, Posada or whoever it was going down the line.
It has.
It's been a long time.
I got
21
great
years.
summers in San Diego. If the team lost 100 games, he's like, hey, well, we'll move on to other things. It's a lot better than being invested all year just to have it fall apart at the end, year in and year out.
I think that's how baseball's designed. It's built to break your heart.
Yeah.
It's supposed to get you invested and then tear it out away from you at the end. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. Would you want to? I mean, you're basically signing up for purgatory for your entire.
Yeah, purgatory.
Just like, well, there may be a hope. We'll get called to the pearly gates.
This time
it might work.
This time.
And it didn't.
One of these times.
One of these, yeah. Well,
one of these times.
I'll take the World Series.
That's fine. I think it's impossible because I grew up as a very young man, having my teams win.
I have never seen one of my teams win at anything. In fact, they usually lose in embarrassing ways.
So it colors things because
TCU made
my whole childhood, the Lakers won 5 championships. I mean,
yeah, I have nothing. I have not seen any of my teams. I joke with my buddies all the time. If you root for a team that I root for, you will never see a championship. So Padres fans, you better get used to this BS because it ain't never happened as long as Braden Soprano roots for the team. But all of the teams I root for, not a single one of them win. And when they usually make it far, they usually have embarrassing ways that they lose. And that's just, that's how it is. I have other things great in my life. I just can't be a happy sports fan is what I have come to the conclusion of. As a Tennessee fan now, for my brother going there, I'm sure they're going to lose in some embarrassing fashion during the college football playoff. I mean, even my school, think about it from this way. TCU had a remarkable season in 2022.
Yeah, they did.
But since they got blown up by Georgia, that eliminates everything that they accomplished, and all I get is just crap all the time about how my team got smoked in the college football national championship. Forgetting the fact that they beat Michigan. Everybody forgets that game, but it's like, oh, you guys got blown out by a Georgia team that would have blown everybody else out. So even when my teams I root for make it, they still get embarrassed because I can't have nice things as a sports fan. But here we are. Padres, one of the greatest teams they've had in a long time, get shut out for 24 consecutive innings. You can't draw it up. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I have only seen one of my teams win, and it's not even really. I grew up an Arizona fan. Their baseball team has won a College World Series since I've been alive, but that's been it. Chargers left San Diego. I didn't even have an NFL team. They left. Padres have been miserable my entire life until my 20s, where they've been great with the new ownership. But even then, it's kind of like, oh, we just got to compete with the Dodgers. All of the teams that I think about San Diego in general, right?
I know.
The Chargers.
You need to be a Sockers fan.
The
I
Chargers
keep trying to bring you over the line.
The Chargers' greatest team that they ever had was in a non-salary cap era. They played the greatest Niners team ever assembled. The 98 Padres played the greatest Yankees team ever assembled. The 84 Padres, which was before my time, they played the greatest Tigers team ever assembled. I mean, and I'm sure there's fellow TCU, Padres, San Diego State, Arizona, Tennessee fans out there. There's going to be a day maybe when we all have a parade together. But until that time, I mean, it's just been miserable in terms of the winning. And my buddies all the time are like, I don't know, you're always in contention. We never win. At the end of the day, you got to win the championship. And if you never win the championship, it's not as fun. So, Craig, when you brought it up, I have lived that life for 30 years. I want to get out of purgatory. Give me a World Series. Give me a NFL
a week
team
in
back.
heaven and 20 years in hell.
Give me a TCU national championship in football. Give me something. I have just had kind of good, not really.
1 year, every one of your teams will all win just at once.
And I will be in tears.
That same year.
That's right. And I will be in tears.
Be an
and
embarrassment
then,
of riches.
And you know what happened? I'll wake up. And then that will be the end of that. It's going to sound like I'm just being miserable, but that's a lot. It's the case for a lot of people that because a lot of championships have been won in dynasties, and there's certain fan bases that have had, been born on third base, like Ohio State, and the kids in Boston that have seen 20 championships. And they've been at 20 championship parades. It's not just me and my buddies in the same place and everything like that, but. Oh man, it's been rough. Yeah, I should get a job at KLAC.
Rich,
just ruin
I think
LA.
you're on to something, man.
So.
Is that our Odyssey station up there?
No,
they
AM 570s an iHeart station, but I would vomit trying to root for the Dodgers.
Hey,
Absolutely
money
vomit.
talks though, buddy. What if we get you a good cushy LA deal?
You know what? If it means
you up there Dodgers pre and post,
that'd be great actually. Especially when
say takes a vacation.
Especially when the Padres win, I'll run out on the field and plant the flag in the middle of the mound.
Right.
The Padres say, "Oh, what a heel turn!" There's the Dodgers pre and post guy with the Padres flag. Is that the Friar with him?
Oh, man.
This is why I'm rooting really. This is why the Lions are the perfect team for us to root for. I am rooting so hard for the Lions because you know what is when some of these teams win.
That could be your gateway.
When a lot of
the
these
Lions could be your gateway
break
drug. What
through,
if they get through?
Hey, top 20 recruiting class for the Frogs this year. But if I'm waiting for one of these teams to break through, all these organizations that have had years of losing, when they win, I live vicariously through those fans' lives because I go, that could be us. The parade down the Embarcadero for us Padres fans one day.
Well, maybe we'll ask Sam Levitt the same question when he joins us at the bottom of the hour. Let's take a quick time out right now. I don't even think we have. Well, maybe we do. We'll talk a little toddy when we come back, or maybe we'll just shuffle that off to tomorrow's show. We'll find out.
Well, that's about as much time as we need.
Yeah,
Fernando,
probably.
You're doing a great job.
They're doing all right.
Great job.
On San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. .24 on the Fan. Welcome back. Don't let AI dictate your fantasy lineup. Instead, get bite-sized fantasy football analysis in your ears by listening to the Sleeper King podcast, giving you all the fantasy insight you need in just 20 minutes a day. Every league has a Sleeper King, and it should be you. Follow the Sleeper King on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm dying at some of these comments in the chat.
Yeah. Why were people asking, would you rather be the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks? I mean, obviously the Dodgers, end of story. What?
Yeah,
It's no argument.
It's not the same. I mean, it's not
Would you rather be Superman or would you rather be, like...
That was the argument, like, before 2020 when they won 2 World Series. Right?
Yeah.
That would be the argument.
Yeah.
Would you rather be the Dodgers and be the team that's lost the most World Series
Right.
in MLB history, or be the Diamondbacks who's won? Even though, so
yeah, but they won once, and now 23 years they've not gone back. They haven't done anything.
I think it's a little.
They went back once.
It's
but
different
haven't
though
won anything.
because like when you sign up to do the Dodger thing, I would be like incredible. Like if I was a Dodgers fan, I would be the most curmudgeon Dodgers fan every year because it's like, oh wow, we have the best team money can buy, and we still can't beat teams in our division in the playoffs. I would be so upset I'd be so pissed off watching our team play, going like, oh, another 100-win season, we can't put it together in the playoffs. And I actually know Dodger fans there are Dodger fans that are like that. I mean, my friend that's a Dodgers fan literally thought up until the last out of the World Series that they were going to catastrophically blow it. He had no faith in their organization to get anything done.
Yeah, the second Garrett Cole decided not to cover first base, he should have put aside all concern.
I had to keep telling him, like, dude, it's you guys have the best team. Like, relax. But anyway, that argument that's the argument like 5 years ago, and I think that's a tough one because when you have the most money, baseball, and you still can't win, that'd be incredibly frustrating.
Well, I think if the Padres can ever find a way to win a World Series, and especially if they can do it in this decade and do it under these circumstances, in a league where the Dodgers' billion-dollar deferral super money machine is whirring and there are no checks and balances and there is no salary floor and salary cap and there is no nationalized TV deal. If the Padres win under these circumstances, it'll be something that literally you'll talk about the rest of your life.
I like being the underdog, though, too. It's more fun. Like the games, the big games when you're not supposed to win and you punch somebody in the mouth, that's way more fun than, like, we're supposed to hammer this team. Let's not and let's not screw this up. I'd rather be the team that's like, let's go out there and shock the world and beat up and take down Goliath than be the team that's like, we're supposed to win this. We're supposed to win this. Why aren't we winning this? Why aren't we winning this? I just, the feeling of the game is way different. I like being the underdog more than the favorite.
Right. Here's Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it's 11:27, and I'm not going to broach the topic of Fernando and then dismiss him in 3 minutes as much as I'm going to destroy the clock and not get Sammy on time. So this is a perfect thing that I can copy pasta into tomorrow's rundown, and we can chat with with Annie about Fernando Tatis Jr. Here's the little slice of it that I'll leave for us because it's the 3-minute slice. Out of this. Who else is in the Padres organizational depth chart at outfield that San Diego can realistically count on next year? And I think the answer is one guy. It's Brandon Lockridge. Why couldn't Brandon Lockridge be the Jose Azocar of the Padres next year? They're right-handed batting, off the bench, speedy, defense, all three positions. Not a really good hitter, but he'll give you maybe a knock once in a while. It's kind of hitting reset on what Azocar wound up being, which was, it didn't exactly pan out.
I think he'd be better than Azocar.
I think he could too.
I think the Yankees gave up a pretty good player at Brandon Lockridge for Enyel De Los Santos because they were desperate for pitching in the playoffs.
And then Enyel, didn't they?
They DFA'd him.
They DFA'd him.
They DFA'd him. He ended up on the White Sox.
Incredible.
And then the White Sox DFA'd him during the offseason.
Well, if Brandon Lockridge ever does anything, that'll be one of those historic trades that we laugh about for years and years.
I could see him doing that. He's fast. He plays good field. I mean, his at-bats were solid. He had good numbers in the Yankees organization. Yankees had all these outfielders, right, blocking him anyway.
Yeah.
One of those deals like last year where it's like a lot of these things have to go right. Brandon Lockridge might be the thing that has to go right for the Padres to have a really good year next year.
That's not true. He's not going to do it. He's going to get 90 at-bats like Jose Azocar did.
Yeah, but if he has a good year.
I'm just looking this up because I want to know. Minor league stats, Jose Azocar. I think it's fair to sometimes make overarching comparisons. Yep. Okay. In 11 seasons in the minors, Jose Azocar is a career 280 hitter.
In the PCL.
698 OPS. Right. Well, just across all levels. And for Brandon Lockridge, across all levels in the minors, a 271 hitter, 764 OPS. A little bit more power.
Most on the East Coast, which didn't have as many PCL ballparks.
So, Lockridge could be better. I'm going to keep it very humble and very simple. I don't know if he'll amount to anything. I don't know if he'll get to WAR in his major league career, but I think Brandon Lockridge can take a bench spot for the San Diego Padres in 2025, and I think he can be versatile and useful in that bench spot. It's up to him to turn himself into a Kevin Pillar, right? To turn himself into a guy who goes from being a waiver wire afterthought and becoming a great player and becoming an everyday player. He could do it, but it's up to him to do it. But I think he'll get a chance to be on his first Major League Opening Day roster in 2025.
I think he could be a nice impact piece. Not a starter, but if he does well as a bench piece, saves you a lot of money in depth, saves you a lot of money. And you can have he could be part of that young core to counteract that older team up north.
All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, let's welcome in one of our favorite and most familiar voices on 97.3 The Fan. The great Sam Levitt is standing by to spend a segment with us to give us his thoughts on previewing the MLB winter meetings, Roki Sasaki, so much more. We're going to chat with Sammy about it all right after this, so stay here, Padres fans. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild, smoky chipotle heat. You know, I've done that one right like 15 times in a row, and I kicked it finally.
It's a tough. The read makes no sense with the
rich maple sweetness and a mild, smoky chipotle heat. There's an extra in there. Anyways, or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go.
The Buffalo Wild Wings is football.
Yeah.
It's what gets me every time.
I get hung up on the soft, smoky chipotle heat.
That's because you start craving. You're
hungry.
you're like Homer Simpson.
Well, it is almost lunchtime.
Soft, smoky heat.
12 o'clock Sports Fix coming up, top of the hour. But first, it's our guy. He's headed out to Texas. He's headed back here. He's going to be on the air tonight.
This guy's cowboy hat and cowboy boots ready to go.
He's picking out various garments. Sam Levitt is joining us right now on 97.3 The Fan, our intrepid Padres reporter. Sammy, it is always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend.
Don't forget, I spent 5 baseball seasons in the state of Texas, 2 in Corpus Christi, 3 in Amarillo. So I've experienced many different parts of Texas, and you never know what I might show up in. I never took up this local boot maker in Amarillo who desperately wanted to make me a pair of boots, custom boots, because I never thought I'd actually wear them. But who knows? I may break out the boots on the trip to Dallas and maybe get to Fort Worth, enjoy some barbecue. I remember there was a place there. One time I was in Fort Worth, and maybe Braden knows this place, named Heim Barbecue.
That's my guy. Yeah.
Where I had the what did I have there that was really good? Oh, it was the bacon burnt ends.
Yeah, bacon burnt
ends. And those were phenomenal. So we'll see if I can squeeze in a trip to Heim Barbecue in Fort Worth. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun in Dallas, and obviously always good to be at the winter meeting. So looking forward to it.
Well, Sam, they have opened up multiple Heim barbecues now in the DFW area. There's one in Dallas, right by Love Field. So there's going to be opportunities for you. And if you need any recommendations on my town of Fort Worth, I will help you out.
Yeah, I will. And I think the winter meetings aren't too far from Love Field, so maybe I'll get over there. But should be fun. It's always a good event and a good time of year. You sort of see everybody that you see at the ballpark throughout the season, and I'm hoping there's some good Padres news to cover and talk about. If you remember last year, really before the Juan Soto deal, very late at the winter meetings, nothing was going on at the winter meetings, whether it be Padres related or not, for a while. So I'm kind of hoping that this Juan Soto situation gets figured out before the meetings begin, and then hopefully we have a very busy, active, and news-filled winter meetings.
Yeah, doesn't it seem that way, Sammy, and that you're literally leading into the next thing I was going to ask you, but I remember the winter meetings being a dud, and kind of not just last year. I feel like it's been like 2 or 3 years where the winter meetings have been mostly talk, almost no action, Scott Boras puns, like we're actually starting to get to the point where we think that's one of the things we're looking forward to. We're not looking forward to that. We want actual things to happen. But I do think Soto's the domino that sets it off. And as such, I've been encouraged to read, all the things that Scott Boras is putting through his mouthpieces the last 48 hours that seem to indicate that maybe he agrees to the deal at the end of this week and then he signs it in Texas.
Well, there's no doubt that things are moving quicker already than they did a year ago, where it just seemed like nothing was happening at all until Shohei Ohtani signed, and the winter meetings were a lot like that too. But the fact that you had the Blake Snell deal, you've had a couple of pitchers come off the market, you've had some movement with some of the guys the Angels have signed. It hasn't been a ton of movement, but I think that in between the comments about Juan Soto and the potential of him signing a deal by the start of the winter meetings, or at least agreeing to a team by the start of the winter meetings, I think it's more encouraging that it's been in the last couple of years for sure. And Craig, I think it's a good overall conversation just about the vibe and flow of free agency in baseball. It's become this very, very long process where we see major guys signing not until spring training begins. We've seen that a handful of times in the last half decade or so, and it just seems like it kind of slogs on for a while. I think, something if I were owners, I'd want to, push the players on is maybe finding a way to speed this up. I don't know that that's anything the players would ever agree to, just like they probably would never agree to a salary cap. But yeah, I do have, at least by what Scott Boras said and by the movement so far, that at least we'll have a busier December and hopefully a busier winter meetings.
When Blake Snell signed, there was a lot of woe is me, Sam, and it brought me back to kind of a logical conclusion that I just want to run your way to see if you agree or if you disagree, and it's completely okay either way. But L.A. is a team that's going to be projected to win the National League West. That was going to be whether they signed Blake Snell or not. So by signing Blake Snell, if they go from 95% to win the West to 97% to win the West, so be it. And furthermore, if they then signed Corbin Burns, if they then signed Burns and Juan Soto and Willie Adames and Alex Bregman all together, and they all of them, and they're going to now have $2 billion in deferred payments. Okay, well, now they're 99.9% to win the West, but they're still in the same place that they were before all of those signings.
Yeah.
The number one team, there's still 5 other slots, and San Diego has 5 slots that they can try and grab one of them to make the playoffs. Whereas if Adames is a Met and Bregman is a Giant, you know what I'm saying? And then Burns is a Brave. Well, all of a sudden, all these other teams that are fighting us for those other 5 spots, they've gotten better. L.A. concentrating all the talent in one spot, I think, is actually okay for the Padres.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If I'm a Padres fan, and it sounds so weird to say because it's a team that obviously you were pretty close to in the division this past year and obviously took them to 5 games in the division series, but if I'm a Padres fan, I'm just not that worried about the Dodgers. And I don't mean worried, not worried about them like, oh, they're going to win 80 games. Now, obviously, the Dodgers are going to get picked to win the NL West, and they're probably going to win 100 games next year. That's just fact of the matter by the team they already have and by the guys they've added already and the guys they've signed. But, Craig, to your point, it just feels like the Padres, as far as a regular season perspective, are not battling the LA Dodgers per se, but are actually battling the other 13 National League teams. So at this point with the Dodgers and what they've done, I just view it as kind of who cares. I mean, they're going to do what they do in the regular season, and they've done it for a long time. Injuries or not, different iterations of their team, they win a lot of games, and they win the division. And that's not to say that the Padres couldn't do it. Who knows what happens in 2025? Who knows what happens to the LA Dodgers? You know, they were very injured last year. Who knows if something like that happens again up in LA? But you know, I just feel like the Padres, to your point, they are really, you know, for the most part, battling the other 13 teams in the National League for, like you said, those final 5 postseason spots. And then the postseason becomes very random, as we've seen. Again, the Dodgers are going to be right there and in the mix, and tons of people are going to pick them to win the World Series. And if they stay healthy, my goodness, it's going to be a very tough team to beat. But when you talk about wild card series and 5-game division series, and the Mets taking them to 6 games, the Yankees, if they don't have a 5th inning meltdown, maybe getting that series back to LA. The margins are really slim when it comes to the postseason, but from a regular season standpoint, I'm with you. I just would not be, at this point, all that concerned about what the Dodgers are doing, because they're going to do what they do, and they're going to spend money, and they're going to build a really good team that's going to win a lot of games, and I don't know that the Padres are going to have a whole lot of say in that or not.
We're talking with Sammy Levitt, his show Inside San Diego Baseball. Will roll tonight at 7, and what we were told is that you'll do that show Tuesday night next week from the winter meetings as well, right, Sam?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm traveling Wednesday night back to San Diego. So we'll do it from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, Tuesday from the hotel in Dallas. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great show, and I hope everyone tunes in this evening as well. If you were to be one of those clever algorithms that creates a word cloud out of all of the words that you're about to speak in Texas over the next 3 days when you're talking to various people, when you're poking your nose under the tent, so to speak, how big do you think the name Sasaki would be inside that word cloud?
I think it would be pretty big, and I think it'd be pretty big for 2 reasons. Number one, obviously, he's going to be a main focus, not just for the Padres, but for a lot of teams in Dallas and moving forward into the month of December and beyond. But also, he's so important to the Padres if they can find a way to get him. And it takes care of a big need in the rotation. It takes care of a big monetary need. Look, I know you guys discussed the Higashioka signing by Texas. Read into it what you want about what that means for the Padres as far as their payroll. That still remains unclear what that payroll number is going to be, what that luxury tax situation is going to be. But I think for the Padres in particular, he's so important because he fills a need and he'd come at the right price. And honestly, I feel like if they could get Sasaki, you'd be okay with the rotation maybe as is. Maybe you're then comfortable with a Matt Waldron or a Randy Vasquez, at least at the start of the year, being in that fifth starter spot. So, Craig, I expect it to be a big focus of the winter meetings and everything we hear in the next week. Obviously, there was a tweet from a BBWA member in the last hour or so, Francis Romero, who implied that the Padres may have a good shot to get him. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I think it's going to be a main focus. And for the Padres in particular, I think based on their money situation and their needs in particular, it's going to be a big point of focus until Sasaki decides where he's going to sign.
Yeah, Sasaki is, landing on boardwalk. It's just the ultimate. If we can get that. Meanwhile, there are other needs for our San Diego Padres, and with Kyle Higashioka signing this week in Texas, catcher moves up that list pretty significantly because our in-house option is out. Luis Camposano, Brett Sullivan are still here. Valenzuela, Salas obviously deeper in the minors. There's no chance he's coming up anytime soon. The free agent options are kind of a who's that of 34-year-old to 37-year-old veterans. There's some guys out there, including Elias Diaz, that wouldn't be completely unpalatable as choices. But do you think trading is a more likely? This was a question that we posed yesterday on the show, Sam, so I'll just ask it to you. Do you think it's more likely that the Padres starting catcher on opening day is on this roster on a free agent list, or is maybe on another team's roster?
It's a great question. I would say probably on a free agent list because I think to get somebody's catcher, I'd have to understand what that deal is. And is that a deal that includes a guy that's on your major league roster? I'm just throwing names out there like a Dylan Cease, like Robert Suarez. Is it a trade that includes, just minor leaguers? And at this point, it's other than Salas and DeVries and some guys that are pretty young. I don't know quite what the value is of the Padres system at this given point, considering all the guys they traded away in 2024. So I would say the likely scenario is that you could get a free agent catcher on the cheap, and that would probably be, from a money standpoint, the Padres' best bet. I think the problem is, and this is the overall problem, and I think I'm going to talk about it in my opening segment tonight for the Padres. Number one, it seemed like the deal for Higgy was reasonable. Look, the Padres may have had their reasons, whether it be money or whether it be not wanting to give that 2-year deal to a 35-year-old, of not getting to that number in that number of years with Kyle Higashioka. I personally thought it would have been a good deal. I think Higgy, if he gives you anywhere close to what he gave you last year, would have been a great fit for a year or two, bridging the gap to maybe an Ethan Salas, but they didn't give up that contract. The problem is the free agent class, it's just not particularly strong, whether it's Danny Jansen. I know Gary Sanchez can hit home runs, Carson Kelly, Yasmani Grandal, Elias Diaz, who was here for a little bit last year. Could it be one of those guys? I would say that's the most likely scenario because I don't know that any of those guys are going to cost you a whole lot. So I'll say that, but if you want to talk about quality and a better player, then I suppose that's probably on somebody else's roster, or at least somebody that's high in somebody's system right now. I just don't know what that trade is. So to me, in all likelihood, you're getting one of those guys in free agency, but obviously it's a pretty big hole right now that I don't think has a really clear or great answer. And to me, it's one of the real priorities for this team right now as far as who's going to be the starting catcher. But I put my best bet on that it's somebody in this free agent class that is not going to cost a whole lot.
Well, buddy, what do you got lined up for this evening's show with yourself and Frank in here and the entire baseball world in front of you?
Well, we'll talk about that catching situation. And one thing I didn't talk about, and I'll mention it during the show, is Luis Camposano. Look, obviously it was not a great year for Campy, but at the current moment, sure seems like he may have a shot to again get right? Playing time at catcher. Again, we'll talk about it more later. But, look, he finished the year at AAA last year, but I didn't mention him in that whole conversation. Yeah. But, hey, that may be the option depending on what the rest of the picture looks like. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the signings as far as minor league deals for outfielders the Padres made in the last week or so. We'll talk about the Dodgers a little bit and sort of what they've done. We'll talk about that golden rule, which I think I have a take on that might surprise people.
Okay.
So I'll save it for a little bit later. And the great Scott Miller will join us in the 7 p.m. hour to talk about some various news and a new book he has coming out. So get to a lot of different stuff, and we will take you from 7 to 9 p.m. after the award-winning Matt Scraby show.
Oh, there's an award now? I did. Can we nominate ourselves, Braden? If
Yeah,
Matt's winning awards,
That's right. Don't ask me what award it was, but the award winning.
Was it like world's greatest bowler, or like
best complaining segment of the week? He must have won an award for complaining about the golden at bat.
San Diego's top whinger. Matt's great. No, we tease. We call it, a trip inside the Scrabination.
Scrabistan.
Or Scrabistan, as I like to call it.
Zombie Nation plays in the background.
Once you get inside Scrabistan, getting out is difficult. Easier to get in and out of Love Field next week. And Sam, we can't wait to have you on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week as well. Always appreciate you, brother. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, guys. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
There's the guy. He's the guy. Sam Levitt.
I'm barbecue supporter. Love it.
That's outstanding on his part, and authentically himself as well. Sammy's not the guy who's going to show up in cowboy boots and a bolo tie.
He should, though.
I mean, it'd be
a
funny.
great look.
It'd be funny.
Is he
I
gonna
think
ride
he
a
could
bull?
pull it off.
I think he should too.
I have never tried to pull off the Western look.
I had to do a bolo tie for the last wedding I was in.
Yeah,
I was not a huge fan. I still have the bolo tie, but I wasn't a huge.
I think when I was a kid,
tie.
I mean third grade something. I might have had a bolo tie.
Wow, bolo tie, Craig.
But notice it didn't make it past that.
Maybe you're just a big bolo tie guy. You're just holding out on us.
There's just a whole bolo tie side of me that just has yet to be explored.
I'd love to see Craig show up one day, not say anything, 10-gallon hat, bolo tie, just sit down. Just
sit there and go, what?
Yeah, what are you talking about? What are you guys looking at me for? Do I have something on my face?
I just called this Thursday.
That's right.
12 o'clock Sports Fix next on Annie and Elsten. Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 3 of the Annie and Elsten program. No Annie today. She will be back tomorrow. Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet in our Odyssey studios. We have reached the exact midpoint of our broadcast week. 10 hours done, 10 to go. It's all downhill from here. And the Wednesday 12 o'clock sports fix, usually the lightest of our 12 o'clock sports fixes. The midpoint of the week. Nonetheless, we've got all the sports news you need to get your day rolling. And it begins with Annie's baseball report, which is my baseball report.
Craig's baseball report.
The Kiwoom Heroes of the Korean Baseball Organization have posted second baseman Hae-sung Kim, not to be confused with Ha-sung Kim.
Hae-sung Kim.
Hae-sung Kim. No hyphen either. No hyphen in Hae-sung. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Hae-sung Kim in the international signing window. That gives him 30 days to come to terms with a major league team, and the deal is expected to get done. The 25-year-old Kim, a left-handed swinger who hit over .320 last year in Korea, is generating lots of interest from multiple teams. Whichever team signs him will need to pay around 20% of the contract to the Heroes. The Juan Soto sweepstakes continues, and Scott Boris's plants in the media are tweeting about it daily. The latest pre-planted rumors are that Soto's offers are now uniformly over $600 million. So if you bid less than $600, you're out. He's in the process of eliminating teams and reaching a final decision, which could come in time for Soto to sign his new deal at the winter meetings next week. If that happens, our guest from the last segment, Sammy Levitt, will be live at the winter meetings to cover it. He will be on all of our shows Monday through Wednesday next week on Ben and Woods, on Annie and Elsten, and Gwen and Chris. His show Inside San Diego Baseball will air tonight at 7 p.m. and will be live from the winter meetings next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Make a note of it. Other hot stove rumors include the Reds looking for an upgrade in the outfield and the Yankees considering a return for reliever Tommy Kahnle. But that's about it. And when there's more, we'll let you know. Right now, here's Braden with football.
NFL news and notes. Only a couple stories to report on, usually on Wednesdays. New York Giants plan to start Drew Lock at quarterback for the second straight week against the New Orleans Saints, Coach Brian Daboll revealed. Lock gets the nod over Tommy DeVito, who's limited at Wednesday's practice with a forearm injury. Drew's going to take all the reps with the starting offense on Wednesday, and he'll be the quarterback this week, Daboll said. If Tommy is well enough to be the second quarterback, he will be, and if not, it will be Tim Boyle. But I think DeVito is trending in the right direction. We'll see where he's at. So the Giants quarterback this week will be Drew Lock yet again. Bills news for you. Throughout the 2024 season, Micah Hyde's locker with the Buffalo Bills has remained unused and his number unassigned. On Wednesday, 13 weeks into the season, the veteran safety made his return to the team as head coach Sean McDermott said he was re-signing to the practice squad. Coach Sean McDermott made it clear Wednesday that Hyde will not initially be starting and that they will take his role one day at a time. Just to set expectations, Micah is in the practice squad role. We are fully confident in Taylor Rapp, Damar Hamlin, Cole Bishop, and Kareem Jackson. They've all been doing a really good job for us in the roles that they are currently in. They're going to stay in those roles, and Micah is in the practice squad role, so good to have him back and his family as well. He became a free agent after his contract with the Bills came to an end after the 2023 season. Hyde, who is now in his 13th season, openly contemplated retirement and had remained unsigned this season. The former Bills captain for 3 seasons made it clear that if he was to return, it would only be to the Bills. Bills drafted safety Cole Bishop in the 3rd round of the 2024 NFL Draft, in addition to signing safety Taylor Rapp to an extension. Rapp is the 2021 6th-round pick. Rapp and 2021 6th-round pick Damar Hamlin have been starters on defense the entire season. So the guy was going to retire, and he'd only come back if it was the Bills. They never got rid of his locker. They didn't assign his number, and now Hyde's back at this point in the season. I wonder if that was the plan all along, just kind of pulling a Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to go through the grind of the season. He's up there in years and going to help for a playoff push. Not a bad move by the Bills.
Hill, but I think Marshawn is a better call.
Marshawn's better. Yeah. Rich Hill didn't get that call like Marshawn did.
No, not quite the same.
That's it for the NFL. We'll be back with college basketball and football in a bit.
Okay, but first,
there's more.
Your local story. 2 losses in a row for the San Diego Clippers. They dropped a 123-116 decision to the Stockton Kings last night in G League action at Front Wave Arena. Clippers will now be on the road until after Christmas. They've got a 5-game road trip that they're about to embark upon. San Diego Gulls are back in action tonight. They're trying to shed a 6-game losing streak when they travel to San Jose to take on the Barracuda. 7 p.m. face-off for that one. San Diego Soccer's season will begin Saturday night in Tacoma. We'll chat with Soccer's captain Craig Childs at 1:20 this afternoon here on Annie and Elsten to try and find out what's what with the Sox. Over to the NBA, where last night it was the finale of group play within the NBA Cup. There were a couple of games that directly decided groups. Neither of them, unfortunately, were that competitive. I think it was just a bummer moment for the NBA because you had 2 games that were really play-in, playoff games, and they were both 20-point routes in the first half. Knicks wound up beating the Magic 121-106 and take their group in the East. Bucks, same thing, taking their group in the East over the Pistons with a 128-107 victory that wasn't even that close. 23 three-pointers for Milwaukee. However, the Magic did still qualify as the Eastern wild card team. The bracket for the NBA Cup, it sorts out like this. The 4 teams from the West are Oklahoma City, who will host Dallas, and Houston, who will host Golden State. Golden State could have hosted. They thought they got hosed on a bad no call that we'll talk about once the fix is over. In the East, the number 1 seed is Milwaukee, and they will host Orlando, while the number 2 seed, the New York Knicks, will host the Atlanta Hawks. So there will be no repeat NBA Cup champion. Lakers didn't make the field. Also, the defending NBA champion, Boston, did not make the field. Orlando edged them out for the wild card. December 10th and 11th next week, so next Tuesday and Wednesday, will be the quarterfinals, and then it'll be next Saturday that they play the semifinals in Las Vegas. And then the following Tuesday, December 17th, will be the NBA Cup Championship. As we mentioned to you, one of the games that wound up deciding this was a 119-115 Denver win over Golden State that forced the Warriors into the 3rd seed. After the fix is over, we'll play a clip from Steve Kerr getting super mad. Also, the Clippers beat Portland last night, 127-105. The Clippersance continues here in the first 20 games of the season. Tonight, there are 6 games in the NBA. The LA Lakers, 12-9 on the year. They are at Miami. Detroit's at Boston. Indiana at Brooklyn. Orlando takes on Philadelphia. The Hawks against the red-hot Milwaukee Bucks. They were 2-8. They have since won 9 of their last 10 games. And those Clips try to keep it rolling at 14-9. They will play host to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We conclude with NHL action tonight. 4 games on the ice of the NHL, including our Southern California teams at home. The LA Kings will host Dallas at Crypto.com Arena at 7 o'clock. And at the same time at Honda Center, the Anaheim Ducks will take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Last night, book wins for Boston, Colorado, Seattle, Montreal, Pittsburgh, San Jose, St. Louis, Minnesota, Calgary, and Vegas. And Utah was not to be seen anywhere. That's it. I didn't say hockey club. I just said Utah.
Apparently, we don't like the state of Utah.
Call timeout for a review on that one.
That's right. Let's take a review.
Let's go to the green light review on that one. Back to Braden now for college.
Well, there was some bad news in college basketball with a team that is from Utah. We can talk about that maybe later. But let's talk about some college basketball that affects the local teams here. San Diego, the Toreros, led for over 14 minutes and as many as 12 points against the net-ranked 33rd team Arizona State out of the Big 12 Conference on the road Tuesday night. However, they fall to a final score of 90-54 at game's end, following their first road game of the season and defeat to their first Quad 1 opponent. The Toreros now fall to 3-5 on the young season ahead of a Saturday night matchup against crosstown rival San Diego State. We will be giving away tickets to Saturday's Aztec game against USD tomorrow.
Nice.
1 pair a show, so you could go out there. And if you go to the game, you can come down and say hi, because I will be calling the game with Jack Cronin for USD.
That'll be fun to be courtside.
Right, so it'll be good. Well, hopefully we're not in the rafters. Hopefully they take care of the USD personnel. But
Ooh, yeah, you might be in the rafters.
Never know at Viejas Arena, but it should be a fun time as Aztecs will take on USD on Saturday, Aztecs will be taking on Fresno State tonight in Fresno. They're a 12.5-point favorite, 7:30 on Fox Sports 1 tonight at the Save Mart Center. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning part of the show. We'll talk more about that in the 1 o'clock hour as well. 24th ranked San Diego State Aztecs start conference play already. Only a handful of schools or conferences are starting conference play. The other one is UC San Diego will be in action tomorrow against the Gauchos in Santa Barbara. Big West play starts tomorrow. They'll be at the Thunderdome.
That's a tough place.
The Thunderdome.
2 teams enter, but only 1 team leaves.
That's right.
when
Is
you
the
go
bathroom inside
Thunderdome.
or outside? Do we know?
Well, if
It
they're
is
staying
Santa
consistent
Barbara.
with Santa Barbara, it should be
is
outside.
Santa Barbara. Is the Thunderdome up the code to host events? Major events? I digress.
Probably be,
with the,
you're on your own on that one.
Yeah. Is there a bathroom inside? Because there isn't one at the baseball stadium.
We learned that.
Learned that the hard way. Baylor, 15th ranked in the country, will go to Storrs, Connecticut, Gamble Pavilion to take on the 25th ranked UConn Huskies. I would imagine the UConn is still ranked after the week they had in Maui just because they didn't want Dan Hurley yelling at every single AP voter.
Just
like, I don't really want Dan Hurley
flopping
yelling at me.
around on the pavement all week
Everybody's
like
out to
a
get
fish.
us. Yeah. Connecticut's favored by 3.5 against Baylor. That's one of the big games tonight. It's the Big 12 Big East battle. A continuation of the SEC ACC Challenge or ACC SEC Challenge. List whatever conference you want first. You should list the SEC because the SEC has completely dominated the ACC in college basketball starting last night. They won 9 of, I think, 10 matchups last night. The only game that they lost was Clemson beat Kentucky. Go figure. Tonight, Alabama is in Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. The 10th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide will take on the 10th-ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. Virginia is down in Florida to take on the 13th-ranked Florida Gators. In the Big 12 Big East battle, Marquette and Iowa State should be a good one at the Hilton Coliseum in Ames, Iowa. 5th-ranked Marquette, 6th-ranked Iowa State. 5 o'clock, game of the night. What TV network is it on, Craig?
Ooh, I don't know which one.
ESPN Plus.
Oh, of course.
5 versus 6 in the country is on ESPN Plus.
Why isn't it on ESPN? Period. I'm done saying it.
Well,
Just
because
ESPN.
the SEC ACC Challenge is on.
Oh, well.
We can't have the Big East and the Big 12 play on main ESPN. That's
No.
not up to code with the SEC.
Is there
love.
an SEC team available? In which case,
Yeah,
should
well, they're
not.
playing the ACC schools tonight.
There you go.
Big 12 Big East battle continuation. Kansas at Creighton. That game's on Fox Sports 1. SEC ACC Challenge again. 2nd-ranked Auburn. 9th-ranked Duke in Durham, North Carolina, Cameron Indoor Stadium. Should be another great. It's a great night for college hoops. So you got your little appetite going, a little appetizer with some of the national games, Craig, and then you dive into San Diego State, Fresno State for your dessert. Can't think of a better way to spend your evening. College football news for you. I gave you the playoff seedings earlier in the show. Today is National Signing Day. Aztecs ranked the 3rd best recruiting class in the Mountain West Conference. Sean Lewis meeting with the media today, talking about that said class. If we get some sound, we'll play it for you. But 17 commits signed today for the San Diego State Aztecs in their latest recruiting. This is day 1 of the National Signing Day. It will be a day 2 of National Signing Day with most sports coming up in the springtime. But let's look at college athletics, and that'll do it for the Sports Fix.
Well done, sir. Appreciate it. 12:14 is the time. Let's stay on clock and take a quick timeout. When we come back, Steve Kerr loses his mind on a reverse Weber. Call a timeout when you don't have a timeout.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Loses his mind in anger because the refs played see no evil, speak no evil. And going to tease you with a concept that we're going to get into more deeply in tomorrow's show that could blow your mind. How could restricting blood flow help a modern major league pitcher throw a 110-mile-an-hour fastball? This is a real thing that's happening, an advance in sports medicine that could be coming to a major league mound before you know it. And we're going to give you the first look inside it as we continue with Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Do you know you can listen to 97.3 The Fan with your smart speaker? Yeah, you can. Ask your device to play 97.3 The Fan, and it'll just start blabbing out our voices. That's what'll happen.
Alexa, play 97.3 The Fan.
Boom. It just happened somewhere.
It's happening somewhere in your house.
It's happening somewhere. Thank goodness my phone was put away. Otherwise, I could have...
Alexa, set an alarm for 3 a.m.
Right? Yeah, don't do that. Stop it.
To heavy metal music. Can you set the LA Kings horn alarm to 3 a.m., please, Alexa?
That is, you're evil, and that's wrong.
It's funny.
Let's. I got two things for you in this segment, gang. Start with just kind of a follow up to the NBA. I didn't want to throw it into the fix per se, but NBA Cup. We're getting down to the knockouts now. I definitely think it's, once again, second year of the in-season tournament. I think it's a big upgrade to the first 25 games of the NBA schedule. I think for most people, the first 25 games of the NBA schedule was like, if you're a diehard, you pay a little bit of attention, and if you're not, you pay absolutely zero attention, and you clue in on Christmas Day, and you say, okay, who's decent, who's playing, what's going on. The NBA Cup tournament has added a lot of juice to the first quarter of the season. And now we'll have 8 games. We'll have 4 games between 8 teams to determine who goes to Vegas. One of those games will be Golden State at Houston. It could have been Houston at Golden State. Both of those teams had wrapped up their groups going into play yesterday, but seeding was still up for grabs when Golden State was taking on Denver last night, and it was a 1-point game when there was a scramble in the last 30 seconds or so, and one of the Nuggets players, Christian Braun, fell on a loose ball and appeared to, put his hands together in a perpendicular fashion, creating what you would call the T being the signal for timeout.
Timeout.
Problem, Nuggets had no timeouts. So all the referees had to do was see it and call it, and it's automatically a technical foul, it's automatically a free throw for Golden State, and it's automatically Warriors ball. Instead, that didn't happen, and the Nuggets went on to win the game. And yes, Brandon, exactly. The signal that the Bears coach didn't understand. This.
And then the timeout took his seat on the plane on
Boom.
the way home.
Yes, it did. The timeout that he saved got the chance to sit in A1. So here's Steve Kerr after last night's game, lacing into the officials. This is probably $50,000 of content out of Steve Kerr's pocket. But I did like how he said it in terms of what happened.
You were particularly upset post-game. Was that about them not? Like Braun seemed to...
Yeah, Brown called the timeout. He dove on the floor, he rolled over. Everybody saw it except for the 3 guys we hired to do the games, and that makes me angry. This is that's a technical foul. They don't have a timeout left. It's a technical foul, we shoot a free throw, we get the ball. We got a chance to win the game. They all told me they didn't see it. He dives on the floor, rolls over, and he goes, timeout. Up to the referees to see that's why we have 3 of them. Somebody's got to see it. So that made me mad. With that said, that's not why we lost. We lost because we didn't.
And he goes on to talk, but everyone saw it except the 3 guys we pay to watch the game.
Yeah, well,
all 3 of those guys were like, "What'd you do?"
Officiating's not good anywhere. It's just not good. It's a tough job to do, and it's a job that is not lucrative enough to deal with all the shenanigans, and that's why you have shortages all over the place. But right now, with the shortages all over the place, it's not good, and you got to be able to see this. I mean, the priorities of getting certain things right over other points of emphasis that they decide to put together, which usually comes from the league. But you can't miss this. You can't miss this.
Timeout.
You got to be able to see it.
The reverse Weber. He calls the timeout, and he doesn't get burned on the deal. That was just a minute's worth of stuff, but I liked how Steve Kerr said, everyone saw it except the 3 guys that we paid to watch the game. And those 3 guys went, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, whistle no evil.
What if the broadcasters who also get paid to watch the game saw it?
Oh,
I
they
bet you
saw it.
they probably did.
Yeah, no, they saw it. They freaked out. Will Carroll writes the Under the Knife Substack. It's a great injury resource beyond baseball. You know, he covers football, he covers college, he covers everything. But he's always at the cutting edge of sports medicine. And Will's a friend of the show. He's been on a couple of times already this year. He'll be coming on tomorrow. But this morning, I opened up his most recent newsletter, which is free to everybody, so you could go find this as well at undertheknife.substack.com. And it's titled Breaking the Velocity Barrier, Dr. Tyler White and Blood Flow Restriction. Okay? And here's the first paragraph, just to give you a little taste. It says, if there's one thing we've learned in baseball over the past 2 decades, it's that technology isn't just changing the game, it's redefining it. From the introduction of TrackMan to the high-speed cameras dissecting every pitch, the sport is evolving faster than ever. Now there's a new tool on the horizon that could take pitching performance to places we've never seen. Let me tease you with a number first, 110. He is not talking about the Harbor Freeway. He is talking about a 110-mile-an-hour fastball being thrown by a human body without the arm helicoptering off of the shoulder and flying into the stands. You can already see major leaguers that have thrown 105 miles an hour. That's a reality. 110 was thought to be a barrier that the human body could not overcome. But this is wild, Braden. A technique that was developed for rehabilitation in the military and then had been talked about, for example, by Stefania Bell, ESPN's injury guru, back in 2015, has now started to be experimented on using actual pitchers. And it's called blood flow restriction. Blood flow restriction. What does that mean?
Restricting blood flow to certain body parts?
Yeah. Does it mean a tourniquet? Yeah, kind of.
Seems like it.
Kind of. Pretty much it does, but not exactly that. The man who, the doctor who is leading the charge on this, organizer of the World Pitching Congress, Dr. Tyler White, explained why blood flow restriction isn't just another training fad. It might be the key to unlocking human potential on the mound. Here is the idea. There is a high-tech, technological, digital blood flow restrictor, okay? Something that will, at a very precise time for a precise amount, will slow the flow of blood to an area, a high-tech tourniquet. And this is the explanation of the doctor. He says, by restricting arterial flow, meaning blood flow, into the arm or leg and limiting venous outflow, the body essentially goes into oxygen deprivation state. Dr. White explained, quote, your brain thinks the limb is starving for oxygen. That triggers a cascade of responses, recruiting more muscle fibers, releasing growth hormones, and building up fatigue resistance. It's like you're hacking the system. Okay, so Dr. White, doing a little Green Goblin action, designs an experiment that he does on himself. Okay, he created a throwing program for himself using this blood flow restriction and obviously a lot of smart computers. Threw at 50% effort, 50 to 70% effort, twice a week for 4 weeks. By week 3, his arm felt electric, fast, strong, like it could throw forever. By week 4, I was throwing harder than I had in a decade, despite having an unrepaired labrum and rotator cuff injury. Results were so compelling, Dr. White extended the experiment to his clients, including an SEC pitcher who saw immediate velocity gains. He texted me after his second session, what is this? I'm blowing up my catch partner and not even trying. This is a legitimate game changer. So the idea here, Braden, is not that you're going to, because right now, we're finding velocity in Major League Baseball through throwing harder than ever, increased spin rate, maxing out effort, max effort all the time. And guys are learning how to throw harder, but also we've seen more arm injuries than ever before. But the idea behind this and why it's thinking to be a hack is that pitchers could train at 50%. Pitchers could train throwing at 2/3, not injuring their tendons, but getting gains in terms of their performance and their velocity.
It's very fascinating, the things that, well, first of all, the human body is amazing. It's really amazing. And like, we don't fully, untap, like be able to tap in how amazing our body is. And there's a lot of different things to do. It just reminds me of like when I went and did that fast for 72 hours, and then what my body did in cleaning itself and doing all the different things. The same thing kind of applies here with just, being able to put your body in ways that it will, correct itself and clean itself and fix itself and repair itself with, self-healing and all that other stuff that our human bodies do. And now doing it for an increased velocity in your throw. It's very interesting to see how this is going to play out on many different fronts. But, excuse me, first thing that comes to mind is, what are the long-term results of this? Because obviously you won't know that until a handful of these guys start to do it for a long period of time, like you would do with any type of medical procedure or anything like that. But this definitely would be a major breakthrough in Major League Baseball to have guys, throw incredibly hard and not have to worry about their arms potentially blowing out as of right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe that will lead to Major League Baseball moving the mound back a little bit more, again.
Right?
Because if everybody's throwing over 110 miles an hour, it's not going to be that entertaining of a game if nobody can hit it.
Yeah, it really is amazing because these types of things, you don't even worry at the beginning about, well, what will the actual effects be if this happens? It's just like, what can we do?
Right.
What are we possibly able to do? And the idea that you're basically tricking your body into a response that is going to lead to growing more fibers in your arm. It's strengthening your ligaments. And so by working, and that's one of the things that's put out here, that the idea is that you could start pitching a bullpen at way less than full load, get the benefits that you get from the session without having transferred that load to ligaments, but you're strengthening your muscles. So then when you get to that point where you're able to throw at that higher velocity, it's not coming at the expense because you've built yourself up. I don't know. It sounds like a hack. It sounds like it's too good to be true, but it is something that is coming, and it is coming soon. This Dr. White thinks by the end of next year, the tech, and there needs to be training. Obviously, no one could just go.
Can you keep it up too, or does your body officially adjust like all these other procedures? Right. I mean, if you get and it's a little bit different, but you get your stomach stapled, it gets smaller, and you lose a bunch of weight because you're eating less. All of a sudden, your body adjusts, and you end up, you still have to put in the time in your body to like break the habit. There's no such thing as just a quick fix. Same thing when I did that fast. I mean, that cleans me out for a little bit, but then, if you continue to put junk in your body, it's like you're cleared forever. Right? That's why you have to do it a couple of times. If the second time you do it, does it have the same effect? I mean, there's a lot of those obviously questions that would be part of this, but it's a very interesting thing for a lot of these pitchers. Yeah.
So tomorrow, Will Carroll will join us. He'll be on in our 11:35 segment, same time that we talked to Sammy today. We'll talk to Will Carroll tomorrow, and I'm just really looking forward to getting kind of more of the ideas behind this, the concepts, like how could it possibly work? Yeah. When could it come into being? And this doctor, Tyler White, thinks by the end of the decade, someone could throw a 110-mile-an-hour fastball, and that blows my mind. I certainly wouldn't want to try and hit it. Now, can you throw it for a strike? What kind of movement do you have? We got more questions to ask, but I think 110 would be pretty hard to hit, just on the level. Not sure that you can catch up to that. Maybe Luis Ariz. Maybe he can slap it down the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
Down the line. That's maybe the only chance. All right, 12:35 is the time. Let's take our last time out of the hour, and it is time to get to today's silly game. Every day on Annie and Elsten, we play a silly game. We do it in the third segment of the 12 o'clock hour, and it's your chance to qualify for our monthly grand prize drawing. Now, the monthly grand prize was introduced midway through November, so the drawing is extending until this Friday. So this is your third to last chance to qualify on the Annie and Elsten show for a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Soul of Motown, and a $150 food and beverage credit. Because Annie's not here today, we're going to move Match Game to tomorrow, and we move up Fast Money, the bonus round from the very popular Family Feud game show. So if you can come up with the number one answer on 5 questions asked of a recent Annie and Elsten studio audience, and you can do so better than me, you are going to be qualified and get into the hopper. We need to open up the lines, so let's do it. The official jingle bell of 97.3 has rung. That means that you can ring us up. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. That's the number to call. Give us a ring right now. Braden will pick a contestant during the break, and we come back and play Fast Money next. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, is 97.3 The Fan. $12:42 on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Annie and Elsten Show. Annie's off today. She'll be back tomorrow. Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant here with you. We roll till 2. Gwen and Chris show. Check in 2 to 6 tonight. This is the extra long night of 97.3 programming. 2 to 6, Gwen and Chris. 6 to 7, a voyage inside Scrabistan, where Matt Scraby is ruler, dictator, judge, jury, and broadcaster from 6 to 7.
He doesn't execute anybody, so he's not.
Are we sure?
I don't know.
I mean, would you be able to say with pure confidence that there's never been an execution inside Scrabistan?
No, I'm sure that's what happens when he blocks people.
That's what I'm thinking, too.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. It was tough picking some of these I can't see on the radio today. On the Fast Money.
Oh,
I had to
darn.
flip to a different one.
That's so funny. And again, just to finish out the broadcast day, 7 to 9 tonight, Sammy Levitt, Inside San Diego Baseball, Frank Marchese there as well. So make sure that you hang with us all evening. Don't think, when you're on the way home from the gym, no, we're not done with local programming. We've got Sammy. We got Scrabistan 6 to 7, and we got Sammy 7 to 9. Right now, we got Fast Money. Here we go. Today's silly game brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino, featuring newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations. Home of legendary Vegas fun, the award-winning Soul of Motown is a high-energy concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. This is a must-see show during your Las Vegas vacation getaway. Tickets at westgateresorts.com. All right. Today's contestant is Larry in La Mesa. Hello, Larry. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, guys.
How are you?
How you
Everything
doing
good today?
So far, so good. Just getting through my work day and trying to take some fast money down.
Appreciate you, man. Okay, so this is Fast Money. However, seeing as we both live in La Mesa, this is also a city bragging rights game. So by the official rules of the show, if you win, you owe me a Costco hot dog at the Fletcher Parkway Costco, whereas if I win or you win, I owe you a hot dog. So we can settle that off the air, though. We can settle that off the air. Larry, here's the game. It's Fast Money. It's very straightforward. The way it plays is as such. I will be walking out of the room shortly, at which point our resident Richard Dawson, Mr. Braden Suprenant, will give you 5 questions that he recently polled a previous Annie and Elsten studio audience. You're going to be looking for the number one answer on those questions. Then I'll come in not knowing your answers, but being unable to repeat the answers you used. That gives you a built-in advantage in the game. We'll compare scores at the end, and if you win or tie, you'll be qualified for our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing to go to Vegas. Larry, does it all make sense to you?
Sounds great.
All right, man, I'm out of here. Good luck.
All right, we'll wait for Craig to leave the building. Got 1 minute on the clock to answer these statements. All right, and we'll start after I ask you question number 1. Name a household appliance that makes a lot of noise.
Washing machine.
Washing machine. Name a job that's performed in a courtroom.
Judge.
A judge. Name a kind of basket.
Woven basket.
Specific, like what you use the basket for instead of what it's made out of.
Laundry basket.
A laundry basket. That'll work. Name a kind of meat people like to put on their pizza.
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. It's a great answer. Name a kind of person who might wear a mask.
Robber.
A robber. All right, that's it. Bring in Craig.
All right.
Good answers. Good answers.
I'm feeling good.
Larry's feeling good, Craig, about his answers. He's feeling real good.
Well, there is that built-in player advantage.
There is.
We accept that because we're here every day.
All right.
All right, I got my little board here. I'm ready.
I got the Excel sheet ready to go.
Okay.
Name a household appliance that makes a lot of noise.
A washing machine. Okay. A garbage disposal.
Okay.
That's a great answer.
Was that what you were waiting for?
Yeah.
You're like the guy that ordered something, is waiting for the waiter to
I'm
go.
just
That's
waiting
a
for my
great order.
family on Family Feud to be like, great answer,
That's
great
a
answer,
great order.
great answer.
Isn't that a Seinfeld episode? He didn't say great order for you. He said great order for me. That's a great order. Name a job that's performed in a courtroom.
Okay, judge.
Try
Buzz. Bailiff.
Bailiff. We have had that particular question before. Some of these do repeat. Name a kind of basket. Not what it's made out of, but like what it's used for.
Okay, a kind of basket. A waste basket.
A waste basket.
Yes.
That's a good answer.
Good answer.
Name a kind of meat people like to put on their pizza.
Everyone's going to say pepperoni.
Correct.
So the next answer would be sausage.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what that would be.
And?
Last question for you. Name a kind of person who might wear a mask.
A kind of a goalie in hockey,
Okay.
Should be like bank robber, shouldn't it?
That is the answer that he gave. But...
Ah.
All right. We'll bring Larry back on.
Okay, Larry.
Larry.
All right.
All right.
You like lobster, Larry?
That's a lot of good buzzers I heard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of the same lines as you. It's a
Hey,
good
great
song.
minds, It
Yeah.
must be the La Mesa aspect.
It's the La Mesa aspect.
That's
All
right. All right,
Let's go.
question number 1. Name a household appliance that makes a lot of noise.
Yes.
Larry said a washing machine.
Good call.
20 points.
All right.
Craig said garbage disposal.
Yeah. What?
0.
It's objectively louder than a washing machine.
It is. Number 1 answer was a vacuum
I thought
cleaner.
that too.
Vacuum cleaner makes sense. Okay, that's fine.
Blender.
Sure.
Washer. AC. I mean, what year is this? Dishwasher. Dryer.
Yeah, okay.
Lame. 20-0. Name a job that's performed in a courtroom. Obviously, the
Here comes
judge.
The judge.
17 points. Third best answer.
Oh,
Craig said bailiff. 14 points.
okay. At least I'm on the board.
Fourth best answer. Number 1 was stenographer.
What?
Number 2 was lawyer attorney.
Okay.
Number 5 was court reporter.
I mean, stenographer
That's
number
the
1?
first one that you come up with?
Yeah, seriously.
I would have
the
thought
fifth one I'd come up
judge,
with.
and then I would have like lawyer, and then probably bailiff.
Yeah.
I would probably
I
maybe
don't even
stenographer
think they
over
do
court
that
reporter.
anymore, do they?
They do. They're just no.
Yeah, the person on those little clacky keys, and
Yeah.
somehow they turn it into real words.
I don't know
There's
how they
only
do
like
that.
8 keys.
That is a special level of talent.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'd never be able to do that.
All right, so it's 37-14, going to question number 3.
Name a kind of basket. Larry said laundry.
Okay.
The laundry Larry basket. 17 points.
This is my chance right here.
Waste basket. 9 points.
What?
Last.
Last?
I don't make the rules. Number 1 was Easter
I was
basket.
worried about that one.
Easter?
Easter basket.
Like, how many times do you use an Easter basket versus a waste basket?
I'd tell you name a basket. What's the first basket that comes to mind?
Waste?
And yeah, it wouldn't be Easter for me either. But Easter basket, sewing basket. Who's sewing anymore?
Sewing basket?
Laundry basket, and a picnic basket.
Picnic basket.
Hey, boo-boo.
Hey, boo-boo.
Yeah, need another picnic basket.
Okay, fine. 54 to
I tell
23.
you what, if you would have answered picnic basket in a
in a Yogi Bear
in a
way.
Yogi Bear
Double points.
voice, I would have doubled it. I would have give you 24.
Picnic basket.
Hey, boo boo. We need another picnic basket.
All right. What's number 4?
Maybe-
Pepperoni's definitely number 1.
It is.
I'm
Why waste
screwed.
our time?
Yeah,
36 points.
of course.
Number 2 was
Sausage.
24 points.
Okay.
Then bacon, and then meatball.
And last.
Notice no ham, no Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah, because
Because
who
they don't
does
like the
that?
pineapple.
Yeah, give me a
They
break.
don't like the pineapple.
It's not bad, though, but
It's just not my first choice. Name a kind of person who might wear a mask. Robber. 17.
okay. Well, I've got a chance. If this happened to be a Manitoba studio audience, and
It's just 0. Why waste your time? 0. Number 1 was doctor, surgeon, then thief, robber, fireman, clown, wrestler, painter.
fireman, clown, wrestler, painter. That's just what's on the bottom of my business card from 2015. Fireman, clown, wrestler, painter. Larry, you win.
107 to
Congratulations.
47. You guys lose the grand prize.
Yeah, and I think that's my all-time low for number, but 47. I mean, gosh.
Well, you would have had pepperoni if you would have done 36, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would have had washing machine
Would have
too.
washed would have been 20.
And then
so
garbage disposal. Come on, that's that. I'm under protest for
must
that
be
one.
a new commodity for people.
I thought that was a good one.
I thought so too.
Well, Larry, it wasn't good enough, and that means you need to hang on the line where Braden will get all of your information for the hopper, and if you want to drop him your Venmo while you're there, $1.50 will be coming your way from me for that hot dog. With a soda, you get a refill on that soda as well. By the way,
What a great deal.
Still a great deal.
Looking forward to that. That's probably the sweetest prize.
All right, Larry, congrats, man. Hang on the line, okay?
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Larry in La Mesa, today's winner. Tomorrow we play the match game, which means tonight, and maybe tomorrow morning, I get to watch some old Match Game 76 episodes. So I'm pretty jazzed about that.
I mean, you can watch that whenever you want.
Yeah, but I usually do the night before.
Okay.
Because
You love the game, but just only the night before. we
there's
play the
questions
game.
that need to be written. There's intellectual property
Inspiration.
I need to steal.
True.
It's a lot easier doing the match game during the baseball season when we've got all these different storylines that
Yes.
are so easy to manipulate. Mike Schiltz roller coasters and all the other lovely nonsense that we have during the season. But we'll get our all-star panel together. We'll get Adam Klug in here. We'll get On the Red Greg. Annie will be back. We'll have 2 contestants, and we'll play the match game. That will be tomorrow. Jake in the chat says New York City doesn't have garbage disposals.
Other East Coast places. I would imagine older houses, maybe.
Maybe.
That's why I said it's a luxurious item.
Middle-class luxury.
It's not a guarantee in most places. Not everybody's got a garbage disposal or a dishwasher.
I think Richard Dawson was the actual person who put together this survey. I think that's how old these answers are. A little disappointed in the wastebasket situation. That Easter basket, sewing who has a sewing basket?
I don't know.
Who sews?
Old ladies were asked these questions, according to Jocelyn. One of the questions today was like, for women only, which we couldn't play with 3 minutes, where's a place on your body you wouldn't want to find a hair?
Hello.
Exactly. That was also paired with name a rack in your house. I was like, this could end very poorly, so we're not going to do this one.
If only Annie was the contestant.
I know. That would have been funny. There'd been some new show open material.
Oh, instead, here we are. Looking forward to her return tomorrow. We return after this quick commercial break. Hit reset on some big topics. Soccer's captain Craig Childs coming up next hour, too. 1 o'clock, fourth hour of Annie and Elsten underway. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Craig Elsten and Braden Soprano here with you today. Annie Halbrun out, scheduled absence. She shall return tomorrow, health and Lord willing. And we look forward to that, already putting together tomorrow's show. Coming up later this hour, we will open up the phones for Ask Us Anything. Also in our next segment, a little catch-up. Pardon me, I've got a frog in my throat right now. A little bit of a catch-up on the San Diego Sockers, who begin their season on Saturday and then begin their home season the following Saturday up at Front Wave Arena. Very little has been heard about the club over the course of the summer and the fall, so we'll check in with Sockers captain Craig Childs and find out what's going on. Who's on the team, what's happening, and get you clued in on that. Right now, Braden and I here with a little bit of a reset of the stories we've been talking about over the first 3 hours of the program. Let's start college football playoff. I think that's where we've got the most unmowed grass in terms of stuff that we've covered earlier in the show. College football rankings are out. They are the penultimate rankings, and some of the things that were revealed yesterday really has the college football world a little bit up in arms, Braden. I mean, as you said it, and I think it's a good take. You know, are we really trying to get the 12 most qualified teams to be in this bracket, or are we trying to get a combination of the most qualified teams and the most telegenic, ratings-worthy teams? And it's definitely the latter and not the former.
Yeah, and you look at the way it plays out, and I mean, I think you have to understand. You have to follow the money, right? You have to follow the money. Who funds college football? Who's the reason why all these college athletes can make all this money now? Who's the reason? It's television.
Yeah,
it's television.
networks.
If it wasn't for television, it wouldn't be this gigantic lucrative deal. And it's obviously television because it's popular. And how does television get their return on their investment? Not ratings numbers.
Of course.
And selling advertisements for ratings boosts and having, big draws so they could be like, hey, look, we had 15 million people tuned into this game. And who watches the majority of these games, right? I mean, there's a level of college football fans like myself and Jake Waters in the chat and a lot of my friends that are going to watch every college football game. But the schools with the biggest fan bases draw the biggest numbers. Even when their team is lousy, they draw the biggest numbers. So if you're a television provider, you're a television entity, right? Your ESPN, your Fox, your TNT, your CBS, you make deals with the schools with the biggest fan bases because those are the ones that watch your product. There's a reason why Washington State and Oregon State got left behind. There's a reason why they're trying to piece together this Pac-12, and everybody keeps adding these entities, and none of them have anything to do with what's the on-field product. It's all about how many eyeballs they can provide for viewership because that's where all the money's at. This is not affiliated with the NCAA. This tournament is not run by the NCAA.
Right.
This tournament is its own thing that the NCAA is willing to say this will be our national champion. But it's not an NCAA run event. This is a run event. This is an event by a entity in the college football playoff that formed their own organization that has TV contracts with ESPN that obviously have very important stakes and important interests at hand when it comes to their return on their investment. They're funding the majority of this. I mean, ESPN paid for the rights to broadcast these games and then have kind of offset and like subleased their rights to games to TNT and some other entities that will air some of these games. But when you start thinking it from that perspective, if you're ESPN, do you really care how many losses Ohio State has or how bad they might be when you know that their gigantic fan base is going to tune in? I don't care.
Right.
I want to see Ohio State. If I'm a network executive, I got to get two of the biggest fan base to go against each other because naturally, even if the game sucks, I'm going to make all my money back. It's built-in security blanket. It's almost like there's two, like you understand in a lot of sports and you start realizing entities, there's a lot of things that are too big and have too much money in the line to just let it happen by chance. and let things happen by chance. They have a say in the matter with the committee, and they're going to put this together. So it's a big invitational. There's a big reason why they've always fought against, letting them all determine it on the field. It's such an easy fix. It's such an easy fix. But we try to overcomplicate things, and we let everybody that works for these networks. Notice the narrative from ESPN's on-air talent. Reese Davis last night. This is a major flaw having the four conference champions automatically get a bye. That's a major. That really throws off the balance of the tournament. Heather Dinich, same thing. All the main reporters that are from ESPN all saying the same BS because they're trying to just, Joe Schmo. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we should do it like this. Do they set up the two biggest entities to go after it in the college football playoffs? So you have to follow the money when it comes to this. It's such an easy fix. Every other division in college football has 24 teams make the playoff. And they're all automatic qualifiers. Like in the FCS, we have a team in town that plays the FCS. It's the University of San Diego. If they win the Pioneer League,
they're in.
They're in. And the Pioneer League is the only league that really doesn't make sense to have an automatic qualifier because they are at such a major disadvantage to everybody else because they're a non-scholarship league, right? There's they're not one of the 24 best teams in the FCS.
Any year, they're never that.
Any year. I mean, There's been a couple years where USD has had really, really good teams, but then they go play North Dakota State and they get run out of the building. And it's not their fault. They're playing at different rules. Then they're at a significant disadvantage to everybody else. But in the FCS, you win your conference, you're in. They have at-large seats, they're in. 24 teams, they play it out, and nobody bitches about them playing too many games. Not one. In high school football, in order to win a state championship in California, you have to play 17 games, 16 or 17 games.
Jeez.
So it's okay for the high school kids in California to do it to win a state championship. But these D1 players at the FBS level, it's like, oh, we can't possibly ask them to play 17 games. And most of those guys that go to the next level are playing 17 games in the regular season. So it's literally every entity plays all of these games. So all the built-in excuses, everything, it's all finagled so they can control who gets in at least a certain aspect. And until they fix the process of who gets into the playoff, not the seeding, not how many teams there are, but who gets in the playoff, it will always be an invitational sham and not the best way to crown a champion.
It's funny when you bring up kind of like inherent structural arguments that are made or thrown out there against playoff expansion. It reminded me of being on sports talk radio when you were a little kid and when it was a two-team college football playoff. And I remember being on the radio talking about this very topic and expansion and what a larger playoff would look like. And Braden, I would get shouted down. We would have not one caller. We would have caller after caller after caller that would be like, you don't understand. The fan base of a college football team is going to travel one time in the winter. They travel to their bowl game. You cannot ask a fan base from Syracuse to go to a bowl game and then another game and then another game. It'll never work. No one will ever do it. I'm telling you, that was put in front of me. I heard it from national people. I heard it from national writers all the time. And I want one person out there. I want to hear from one Ohio State person who goes, you know what? The problem with the playoff is our fan base has to travel too much, potentially, to support our team en route to the national championship.
Even though they do it for basketball.
Literally no one is making that argument because the argument was specious to begin with because all that was entrenched was the money in the bowl system going to the people who ran the bowls. And so, therefore, how could we possibly change? We have a system that we like right now. It's lining our pockets right now. The system
and the
will
big schools
change.
are making all the money.
Right. The system will change again.
College football is a lot like Major League Baseball, where the entities at the top make all the rules for everybody else, and they keep finagling it so they have the advantage on this. I mean, the expanded play, everybody goes like, well, if you expand it to 24, then 25 is going to be upset. No. Because in my college football, if I was the commissioner of college football, which that is a position that doesn't actually exist, I would have a 24-team playoff. And I've laid it out on shows already. I'd have a 24-team playoff just like the FCS. And I have even made some caveats, or should I say compromises, to the prestigious Big Ten and SEC, where you have automatic qualifiers, right? So you have 24 teams. There's 10 conferences. Every conference winner gets in. I think that's fair. And
Sure.
at that point, it levels that everybody has a chance, right? And if that was the case, I think that enhances the regular season for everybody in this country. Because that's the other thing they do. Well, it take away from the regular season. The hell it would. You know what? At some point during the season, I was checked out at TCU football. They lost 2 games in a row at the beginning. And then I was like, they could still win the conference. And if they win the conference, they're in. And now I'm watching all these games, and there was all these tiebreakers. I'm like, we're technically still alive. Let me watch this game. We're still alive. Nobody's going well, everybody's alive, so it doesn't matter because they're all going to. That's not a thing, right? But if San Diego State was guaranteed a playoff spot by winning their conference, I think more people would be dialed in, right? Just like San Diego State basketball is.
Yeah.
You have a path. You have a path to making it to the big stage. So you have 10. There's 10 of the 24 teams. But on top of that, what you would do is you divvy up the other ones. So you have automatic qualifiers for these conferences. Again, eliminate as many humans as possible from deciding, not the planet.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I have to clarify because people are like, this guy wants depopulation. Give you 4 automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten. Go 4 automatic qualifiers to the SEC. 3 for the ACC. 3 for the Big 12. That gets you 4, 8, 14. That's 14 of the teams that are guaranteed, minus the 4 plus the other, 10 conferences. That gets you to 20 schools automatically in. And then if you want to go 4 at large for the Notre Dames of the world, and maybe there's a cup, maybe the SEC has a really good year, maybe the Big 10, Big 12, whatever, then you could have humans pick 4. And if you're down to 4 and you're splitting hairs, it's who cares? You could have finished in the top 4 of your conference to make the tournament. But
and that way Alabama can still get in.
Right. But at that point, Alabama would have been if they're probably in the top 4. But what I would do on top of that is you got to bring divisions back to college football because of the mess that we had in determining who's in the conference championship games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody didn't like the divisions because Purdue was making the Big Ten championship game, and they had no business doing so, and only one of Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan were making it, and it was ludicrous. But you could do what they do in high school. They redo the leagues all the time to make it a more competitive balance. So after a couple of years, or even after the season, what you could do is how you finish, go team number 1 in Division A, and then 2, 3 in B, and then 4, and snake back and forth. There's your divisions. At this point, does it really matter? You're in the conference. You play 9 conference games in my proposal. 9 conference games. But here's the caveat. I eliminate championship games, but the last week of the season is to be determined after you play the 8 conference games. So you play the 7 teams in your division.
Okay.
And then if you finish in first, because you'd played everybody, it's a perfect round robin.
Yeah.
If you finish first, you play the other first place team for the conference championship in the last week. Both those schools make the tournament. And then what you do is the number 2 from Division A plays the 3 from Division B, and the 2 from Division B plays the 3 of Division A, and those games are
Playing
win
games.
and you're in.
Yeah, playing games.
Win and you're in, and then what you do is the rest of the way down, you match up 4 versus 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8. So the last week of the season, during Thanksgiving, every game is a great matchup, and it has playoff implications on the line. You miss the next week, or actually you start the playoffs the next week. Take the next week off, December 13th, and you put together you make that the Army-Navy game. And then you play out a 24-team bracket. I have actually filled it out already, and I will share the screen of what the tournament would look like because it's so easy. It's literally so easy, but they don't want to do it because of money. Here, I'll present my little thing. Here, I'll share screen. There we go.
Share screen.
This would be if the season ended, right, and we flipped the divisions up based on this year's seedings, and then this is this year's results. So you'd have, Iowa State would play would host Clemson on December 7th. If they won, they played Oregon on December 21st. Then they'd play in the Rose Bowl game as the quarterfinal, the Cotton Bowl, and then into Atlanta. And the only schools that would have to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to win a championship never make it that far anyway. But you only play 12 games in the regular season. I'd eliminate playing FCS schools unless it's a preseason game. Everybody has to play 9 conference games. You get 3 non-con. This is how you save college football. But it doesn't, you can't be greedy doing this. This is like a fair way to do it. But this is what your matchups would be. Everybody gets in, and there's really no bitching about who makes it and who doesn't, because if you didn't like it, if you don't like where you're at, you should have played better.
Right.
Instead of just 12 people in their opinion go, you know what? I know Alabama's lost 4 games, but I still think they're the best. I still think, God willing, they are the best. Let's put them in.
Hey, all right.
There you go.
I
Here's my
agree.
deal.
And let's go ahead and make it. Can I do a Captain Picard?
That's right.
Make it so.
Let's make it so.
All right, let's take a timeout.
Jake's my
116.
co-commissioner.
Jake is allowed to be co-commissioner.
I want Jake's thoughts on this.
As soon as I get my Barry Sanders jersey, Jake is okay to be co-commissioner.
That's how he has to do it.
That's just the entry fee. That's all.
Too much bitching and moaning over, here's the way we should evaluate this team. But we're not going to evaluate this team like that. This is, the excuse making, the talking out of both sides of your mouth, the too many guys too many athletic directors on the board involving their teams with music or with money involved, and it's a mess. I will say this: if you're San Diego State and you watch UNLV beat Boise State this weekend, which is possible, there is a clear path that you can make the college football playoff.
Right.
There's your path. If UNLV can do it,
Right.
San Diego State
100%
can do it. It's right there for the taking.
Would have done it 5 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
if this is implemented 5 years ago, San Diego State is in a playoff game in a Mountain West championship. If you win, you're in. And then all of a sudden, could you imagine what San Diego would be like with the Aztecs in a playoff game?
Oh.
And they're playing, they'd probably get smoked.
You'd
but
have
they'd
a
play
real justification to have the program.
Right. I mean, it
All
would make
that
a lot
stuff
of
was
sense.
happening.
It'd make a lot of sense. But there you go.
But there it is. Okay. I knew we had enough. I knew we had enough unmowed grass on this topic to get through this segment. When we come back, we're going to check in briefly with the longtime captain of the San Diego Sockers, the franchise's all-time leading points and goal scorer, and a 6-time champion, Craig Childs, as his club gets ready to begin their Major Arena Soccer League campaign just 3 days, I should say, from now up in Tacoma with a home match 1 week later. We're going to do that. We're going to wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. And then at 2 o'clock, it's Gwen and Chris all coming your way right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 123 on the Fan. Annie and Elsten rolling with you. Annie had a scheduled off day today. She will be back tomorrow. She sends her regards from afar. Craig and Braden here with you. Holding it down. 2 o'clock when and Chris check in. Matt Scraby show from 6 to 7. Inside San Diego Baseball from 7 to 9 with Sam Levitt and Frank Marchese. We're going to open up the phones in our final segment. Right now, we're going out to the 97.3 The Fan hotline. Talk with a guy I've known since 2009. He is the captain of the San Diego Sockers. He's a 6-time champion, a 3-time MVP, and the franchise's all-time points and goals leading scorer. He is Craig Childs, and he joins us now on the hotline with the Sockers getting ready to open up their season Saturday in Tacoma and then at home the following Saturday against Utica City FC. Craiger, how you been?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Craig.
Well, the pleasure is mine, my friend. The pleasure is mine, but thank you for accepting the invitation. Let's start with the arena. Front Wave Arena is here. We've seen it hosting gymnastics. We've seen it hosting G League basketball and concerts. One exhibition game for indoor in terms of U.S.-Mexico. But in 2 Saturdays on the 14th, it'll host the club that it was kind of built for, the San Diego Sockers, for the first time. What's the feeling been around the club? What's the discussion been in terms of moving into the new place?
You know, everybody's really excited to get into the new building. It's a new chapter in the history of the franchise, and God, Front Wave is beautiful. Every aspect of that building is brand new and really state-of-the-art and done very well, and the team is really excited for the home opener on the 14th.
Are you guys practicing in there? Have you had any chance really to kind of even kick the ball around in there at all?
Well, we have had a little kick around in there. The Clippers have had a stretch of about 5 or 6 kind of home games in the last week or two, so they've been in there with the court training. As of Monday, I think we get the arena floor for 2 weeks inside kind of through the home opener and the following game. So we're looking forward to having practice in there for an extended period and kind of get used to the home floor. And the franchise purchased some new arena turf, which should be coming, and it kind of, really stands out. It's well done and it looks beautiful.
Oh, can't wait to see some new turf down on the floor. Now, the last time we saw the San Diego Sockers, they were being eliminated at the Pechanga Arena home floor by the eventual 2-time champions, the Chihuahua Savage. There's 12 teams back in the MASL this year. How is the league shaping up? What are some news fans that casual fans of the Sockers should know?
Yeah, the league is a single table. The schedule is pretty balanced. I think we have a bunch of games against Baltimore, I think Kansas City, St. Louis, and so you kind of get a little bit of everybody, but the majority of your games are Tacoma and Ontario up in Empire and kind of the local home games. And so, the league looks very good. Our team is put together very well to make a title run this year. A lot of really talented players kind of came in and mixed well with a lot of returning players from kind of the last few years. And so we're really looking forward to getting the season started, and we think we got a really good shot at it this year.
Now, the core of the Sockers, whether it's yourself, Boris Pardo, the goalkeeper, who has been there for several years, there's guys and named Leonardo de Oliveira, Cristian Gutierrez. We could go on. Guys who have been there for a long time. Who are some of the new players in San Diego? We haven't heard a lot in terms of roster movement.
Well, Mendez and Morales just came in from the Outlaws, and both of them are immediate starters. I mean, they're fantastic and have really showcased themselves at training. There's a player to watch, Sergio, who signed a contract to play with us, who has La Liga experience, and he's been doing very well at every training. And so, the Sockers are kind of undercover putting together a really talented roster. The midfield is going to be stacked. Tavoy Morgan up top, kind of running the offense this year with me kind of supplementing any way possible. And so the team is put together for a championship run in its first year at Front Wave.
That's really exciting. And the MASL announced as well that other than the finals, the playoffs are all going to be staged in Oceanside at Front Wave. I've got to imagine for a guy like yourself who's always thinking tactically and thinking ahead, I mean, what an advantage for San Diego.
I mean, definitely, right? You try not to let it get to you too much because you don't want to underperform thinking, you've already got home playoff games anyway, right? Which is potentially what unraveled. It's a little weird, the playoff format, but, regardless, you're still going to have to play that road championship game in a 3-game series after the kind of San Diego playoff leg too. So, the league is very competitive. Chihuahua has been stacked, and they're pushing for a playoff and championship run as well. Ontario's put together a very competitive roster this year, and Tacoma is always good. It's the same bunch of guys, and they've been giving us problems for a decade, and so it's going to be a tough run of games, a really competitive run of games. But Gabby Costa, Charlie Gonzalez, the midfield with the Mesquite boys that we have put together is going to be very difficult for anybody to play against.
Yeah, boy. I mean, Luis Morales, one of the best young strikers in the league. Mendez, one of the fastest midfielders in the league. Those are big-time adds to the San Diego Sockers, so that's super exciting. You get things started Saturday night up at Acesso Showwear Center against Tacoma, but then one Saturday later, it's Utica City, and then the following Friday, the 20th, I believe, Tacoma in town. So chance to see these Sockers. You can go to sdsockers.com. You can go to frontwavearena.com and pick up tickets to the matches. And Craig, look forward to seeing you out there in a couple of Saturdays. Best of luck this weekend up in Tacoma. Can't wait to see how this Sockers team shakes out in 2024-25.
Sweet. Thank you for having me on, Craig.
Of course. Greg Childs, captain of the Sockers, 6-time champion, 3-time MVP, our guest right there. Just a different situation, Braden. I literally had to ask him some questions right there, like I don't know the answers to.
Yes.
Like, who's on the team and what's going on? And is this,
Well, you know what, Craig? That's a great question.
But, the last 7 years, I had been in the Sockers front office one way or another. Last year as an independent contractor, but still, in there. So it's like you get all the info. So right now, like here on the radio, looking forward to announcing some games. But, I just wanted to get caught up a little bit. And as such, get everyone else caught up a little bit. So sounds really exciting. Super competitive team. If you haven't been out, incredibly entertaining, very family-friendly, I shouldn't say broadcast, sport, indoor soccer, very easy to see the ball, to follow the players. Players are always available, making themselves available for autographs and pictures after the game. So check it out, frontwavearena.com. That's the way to get it rolling. Switching gears here before we get to Ask Us Anything, we talked about it at the very beginning of the show, but I wanted to bring it up again, Braden, that the Aztecs play tonight.
Yes, they do.
San Diego State takes on Fresno State up at the Save Mart Center in Fresno. And, it's never a great trip for San Diego State. It's the old you can't get there from here type deal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now?
Did they fly in? I don't know if they fly into Fresno or if they bus.
Yeah, they might bus. It's a long bus ride.
It's a long-ass bus ride. I'm telling you, I've done it. I'm further up, Fresno's at least a middle stop along the way up the old 99 freeway.
That's why they play for an oil can, an oil change.
Pretty much. Hey, there's nothing better than coming down off the Tejon Pass and you get, I think it's like that first or second exit, and it has like literally every franchise fast food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, do you want McDonald's, or would you like In-N-Out or Wendy's, or actually like Burger King, or maybe Chick-fil-A?
Is that a Culver's? We have those out here?
There's a Panda Express right over here and a Subway right over there. And if you'd like, there's Tommy's Burgers, and there's everything else in between.
I thought that said Whataburger. It's really Whataburger. Knockoff. It's BS, man.
Is there such a thing as Whataburger?
No, there's not.
I wish there was.
I'm sure there
so
might
funny.
be in some hick town somewhere where it used to be a Whataburger, then they changed it. Mom and Pop took it over.
So normally I'd be really not nervous because the Aztecs are a significant favorite, and Fresno State isn't expected to be like a real banger in the Mountain West this year. They're supposed to be toward the bottom of the table, but normally I'd be really nervous because Justin Hudson had been the head coach at Fresno State, and so he knew every play call that Brian Dutcher could ever make. Like he's had beers with every one of the guys on his staff years and years and years in a row. And so you always kind of felt like there was a limiting factor there.
Still tied to the program, too. His wife's the women's basketball head coach.
Right. But now they have a new head coach at Fresno State. He is an older gentleman who used to be the head coach at Clovis West, and then he went to college, and he didn't really do very well. And then he was an assistant in the pros for a little while. But he is a proponent, I guess would be the word to use, of the dribble drive motion offense. I think he was actually credited with creating the principles of the dribble drive motion offense, which I think most people in college basketball associate with John Calipari, because that's what he ran. I don't know if he still runs it, but that's what he's run all the way back to like De'Aaron Fox and other point guards at Kentucky, where it's spacing. It's basically 4 wide, 4 out, and then drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick. Well, kind of like what the Celtics run, honestly, in the NBA. It's either a layup or you're kicking out and you're finding a 3 or another layup opportunity. It's a cool idea, but it means man-to-man defensive principles. That's kind of what this is designed to take on, and I think San Diego State matches up against this.
I think so, too. I think it's a good matchup for them. I think it's one of those games, again, where, we hear the promo all the time on the radio of Brian Dutcher going, we're going to get everybody's best shot. I mean, that's going to be the case again in the Mountain West. This happens here, the top dog, if you will.
Not Bulldog, but
yes, top Aztec dog. Is that a thing? So they're gonna get the best shot at Fresno State, and like I said earlier on the show, I could see this game being a 29-28 lead for Fresno State at halftime, and then the Aztecs win by 15 in the second half. So hopefully they take care of business. They got USD coming up on Saturday right after that. Jordan Hudson coaches that. He is a volunteer assistant coach at USD, so maybe that's the game to worry about at home. I doubt it, but they're in a good spot of their schedule. You can't be just super excited and pat yourself on the back for the tournament you just had. Got to be able to go out there and new week, set the tone, take care of business, and handle a Fresno State team that they're supposed to be able to handle.
Yeah, it looks like Aztecs, a 7:30 tip-off, by the way, today in Fresno on Fox Sports 1. That's where you'll be able to find this game. Last year, Aztecs won by 32 in Fresno, so this could be some real concern trolling on my part to even bring up the game at all.
Got to hype the game up somehow.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully tomorrow, it's a laugher, and we very briefly touch on it, that it was a laugher and the Aztecs crushed their first Mountain West game of the year.
Yeah, now you play everybody in the Mountain West twice this year. Extended season. That's why we're starting the Mountain West play. Say the Big West with UCSD playing tomorrow. Already in conference play. It's December 4th.
Jeez.
We should be having at least 4 or 5 more non-conference games.
Ever-changing world. Literally, gang, as we go to break, this was one of the reasons why San Diego State and Boise State at all wanted to break away. They didn't want to keep playing this 20-game conference schedule. And I get it. I do get it. And they'll be in a better situation to schedule better non-conference basketball games when they're in the Pac-12. Well, because they won't have 16 different teams to play. They'll have, 6.
Yeah. And then if you play everybody twice, it's only 12 conference
12 games. Plenty of time.
That's right.
Schedule everybody. Schedule up and down the coast.
You still need a 4th team. Or they still need an 8th team for football. They need an 8th full-member squad. Otherwise, they're not a conference. Because they only have Gonzaga only counts partially because they're not a football team.
And we've already scratched off a whole lot of undesirable franchises.
That's right.
UTEP and Texas San Antonio and
Mountain West needs, I think, another one too. So maybe they should just
merge.
Make the WAC. Recreate the WAC.
Don't say that around the Mesa. They don't want to hear it. They
the WAC 2.0. No.
Don't want to hear it.
You're just being bitter. No, I'm not. It's trying to be a realist here. How much money are you getting in the thing? Remember we talked about the last segment, the money and the ratings and the Washington State, Oregon State Pac-2 championship game got 600,000 views.
600,000.
Yes. How much did the Texas and 14
But
million?
remember, the reason that they're going from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 is because they're going to get such a better TV deal. This has been told to me so many times, and in fact repeated to me when we even questioned it. No, they're going to get a much better TV deal with fewer schools and very uninteresting matchups.
600,000.
Well, I mean, Boise State's great, right? Everyone comes from all corners of the country to watch everything Boise State does, don't they?
Yeah, they don't have a lot of T-shirt fans in that. They need more T-shirt fans.
There's
Maybe
not
Craig
a lot of
Elsten's
T-shirt
over
fans.
there.
Yeah, there are not a lot of T-shirt fans.
Not in this new conference.
Let's take our last time out of the show. When we come back, it's time to ask us anything. We're going to open up the phone lines for you. Hang on, we have to do something first.
Are you holding the bow attached?
I'm holding the bow because
man.
otherwise it would just...
Otherwise it's just a bell. It's not as
just a bell.
festive.
It's not as festive. Got to hold the bow. And now officially the lines are open. It's weird how on the other shows the lines do open even though the bell doesn't ring. But nonetheless, I'm going to just press forward. 833-288-0973.
They ring it during the breaks.
Oh, that's it. 833-288-0973 is the number.
Voice message.
Leave us a voice message on the Odyssey app. If you can't call in, you can do that as well. Open up the Odyssey app, click the little
Voice
toggly
message button.
voice message
It literally
thing.
says voice message.
Oh, that's easy.
It says listen live, voice message.
Press that, record. Do that between now and 1:50. 10 minutes to call the show. 833-288-0973. Or leaving the voice message on the Odyssey app. You've got till 1:50 to do it. If you do, we're going to put you right on the air. All we need is for you to ask us a question. Ask us anything. Andy and Elsten wrapping it up next on The Fan. Buddies John and Tammy tomorrow as well. Who knows what else is going to drop in before we get to tomorrow 10 to 2. Gwen and Chris for 4 hours after here. And then Scraby and then Sammy. So we got a long day of broadcast left to go. Let's get to the phones and let's open up with the bumper. Still have about 4 minutes to call the show if you'd like. So, if you'd like, call the show. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Greg in Chula Vista understood the assignment. Here's Greg in Chula Vista. Hi, Greg. You're on with Craig and Braden. Ask us anything.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I didn't get to listen to your whole show, so I don't know if you discussed this already, but I saw that Trevor Lawrence is out for the year with that concussion. Just wondered what you thought about the 3-game suspension for Al Shazier.
Oh, good question, Greg. Thanks for calling and asking it. And that's something we didn't get to today on the air. Braden, out for the year, huh? Trevor Lawrence, that sucks.
That does suck. I mean, the hit was obviously late and everything like that, but they have their penalties that are put in, and just because the player's out for a longer period of time doesn't mean you suspend Shahir for that whole time. They have their process and gave him a 3-game suspension, but it's an unfortunate play and obviously a hit by a guy that has had a past of that. So I think the NFL handled it as well as they possibly could, for that deal.
Yeah, I mean, the rules are already in place. If we're going to go to Hammurabi's code, right, and it's just going to be an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, then it's going to be a different rule book.
Now, if Al Shahir bet on Trevor Lawrence to have a good day, then he would have been suspended for the year. But the human violence aspect punishments are usually less in the National Football League.
That is sadly true. Here's Will in Oceanside. Hi, Will. You called in under the line. Appreciate you at 833-288-0973. Ask us anything.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good to talk to you guys.
And you.
I have a question about our catcher situation. We know that Higashioka signed that contract with Texas, and I know that they're going to probably wait until closer to preseason. But my question is if they have the pitchers and catchers report early, and the pitchers were used to certain pitchers, isn't it a better idea to have a quality pitcher in place before all that? And my point is it's more of a priority.
Oh, I think your phone just dropped you when you were trying to make your point.
Call back tomorrow.
Was the idea that pitchers should check in earlier? Is that what he was saying?
For pitchers and catchers?
I lost the thread there at the very end. Sorry, Will, give us a try back tomorrow, because I think you were onto something there. I'm just not sure what it was. Here's Mike in San Diego. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show. Ask us anything.
Yeah, hey there. Just things been sitting with me for a couple of days. The Pac-2 that's left, Oregon State and Washington State, do they get an automatic bid into the NCAA tournament for basketball this year with only 2 in their supposed conference?
I don't think they do.
I would hope not. Jeez, wouldn't that be crazy, Mike? If it's just between
they're not. No, because they're not. In basketball, they're not a Pac-2. In basketball, they're in the West Coast Conference.
Ah, So they're playing against the Zags.
They're in a conference for everything with the exception of football. So they're in the West Coast Conference for basketball and most sports. Baseball, Washington State decided to go to the Mountain West. Oregon State's going to be independent in baseball, but no, they will not have a Pac-2 automatic qualifier because they are in other conferences for the next 2 years. That's why Washington State's basketball court has the WCC logo and the Pac-12 logo on it.
Huh.
Because they're in 2 conferences right now at the same time.
Well, now
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. How about that, Mike? That was a good public service answer there. Appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day, okay?
I'm like, I don't think that. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been calling Washington State games in the West Coast Conference. They're in the West Coast Conference.
Well, there it is.
It's not like a scheduling agreement that they had with the Mountain West where they weren't a part of the conference and they still had their own thing. They just needed games like Notre Dame does with the ACC. They actually physically joined the West Coast Conference in all other sports.
Study up on your conference affiliations.
Just to redo them in 2 years.
Head to a local dive bar, win bets immediately.
That's right.
And then relearn.
Repeat, rinse, recycle.
I Need Money asks on Ask Us Anything, what's the wildest East County thing you've ever experienced? I don't know. What's the most? I mean, I live in East County. I live in La Mesa.
Yeah, my parents grew up in East County. I don't know. Seen a bunch of lifted trucks.
Yeah, right. I've seen a pickup truck that has 7 different flagpoles attached to the bed. Like, how many flags do you need? At this point, isn't it about you? If you have 7 flagpoles in the back of your car, it's really not about your ideologies anymore. It's just about you, isn't it?
I'm trying to think of East County things.
The wildest East County thing. I mean, I've been to some used car or some vintage car shows in El Cajon. That wasn't wild. Lakeside Rodeo? How about the Lakeside Rodeo? Does that count?
Is that East County?
I mean, that's very East County.
Because they have a rodeo?
Well, Lakeside is East County, definitively.
Not as cool as the Texas rodeo. No, I mean, like the rodeo itself. Is that like the wildest East County thing for you?
Trying to keep my ball in play at Mount Woodson.
Trying to keep the ball in play at Carlton Oaks.
That too.
Going to Beef and Bun.
Hey, listen. Tempting yourself to go to Beef and Bun for a Friday night at 6 o'clock and go through the drive-thru. That's wild.
Or how about playing Granite Hills and thinking you can make it to Beef and Bun in time on the way home, and you missed it by 3 minutes?
In the final seconds of the show, I just wanted to let our sales staff know that last night my wife asked us to order dinner, and they wanted pizza. And I ordered Round Table.
Wow.
And that's the second straight time I've done it.
Wow.
And it's not the cheapest pie.
No, it's not. But if you're the spokesperson.
But it's pretty darn good. So the next time you guys are thinking about maybe an individualized spokesperson
for Round Table,
for Round Table Pizza on 97.3 The Fan, consider the person who actually buys it.
That's right.
And not just talks about it. Gwen and Chris are next. Great job, Braden. Annie, back tomorrow.